All right, what's going on, y'all?
Good. We up.
Yes, sir. How y'all
What's
doing?
going on, everybody?
Welcome to Face Mask Fantasy. Happy Tuesday.
Happy preseason week 1.
Yeah, man. It is here. The season is almost upon us. And we have preseason games from Thursday through Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Yeah. Is there a game Monday? There might be.
I don't know. I didn't check that far deep into the schedule. But I know that this weekend I am not going to be doing anything. So, except for watching football, that doesn't matter. But
that doesn't matter ultimately. Well, it's your chance to see the players who, the secondary, the guys a little bit farther down the depth chart who you can only speculate on until this point. now you get now you get a chance to actually get an extended look at least some of them.
Yeah. And all right, so we gotta talk about it straight out the gate because it was brought up by Alex. First comment in the chat: "What's going on, Alex? What's going on, Iron? What's going on, Hunter? Good to see y'all." ESPN update just in on Watson 1 year suspension. Now I think that's just Roger Goodell explaining why the NFL appealed the 6-week suspension and is pushing back on it, because Roger Goodell has come out and said he is leaving himself out of it, and he's putting it on somebody else's shoulders to really go about finalizing the process.
Yeah, this is not confirmed. This is not something that has been ultimately figured out yet. It's just that the NFL feels like the original penalty was too lenient. Goodell has stated his opinion. Like you mentioned, John, he's not the one making the final call. He hired somebody independently to take care of that. This is just what the league wants to see. It is not official. And again, even when we do get news on it, if the NFL ultimately decides to increase the suspension, there will still be an opportunity for the Players Association to come back with a lawsuit. So,
and Deshaun Watson himself said he was going to sue the NFL if they give him more than what was handed down as far as the 6 games.
I didn't see that. I don't know that he has to worry about it though, because the Players Association will almost do it on his behalf.
Right.
So yeah, there's nothing official today. Goodell is just saying what he wants to see. This is not pen to paper. And again, even when we do get the actual official ruling on what ends up happening, we still got to wait for whatever the response is that comes from the Players Association. So this is far from over.
Yeah, it's interesting that this is coming out right now. But I expect news to trickle out pretty much over the course of the next month, maybe even a couple of months on this. We're not going to get a resolution on this anytime soon.
No.
With legal battles, I mean, look how much this Kamara situation is getting pushed back. I think that's an indication that their focus is all the way on this Deshaun Watson situation, and we have to let it play out through the courts. So it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be an interesting couple of months here with regards to that. But
yeah, this is not a final decision.
Yeah.
This is not a final decision by any means. This is just Goodell's just voicing his opinion, which carries weight, but in this situation does not. It is not like a penalty being issued down. It's not happening.
And Hunter L, is it ever Jordan Love season? I don't think it's ever Jordan Love season.
Well, he's playing Friday.
Yeah, but I don't think it's ever Jordan Love season.
Well, he's playing Friday. That's all we know. The Packers officially ruled Rodgers out for their first preseason game,
as they should.
To the surprise of exactly nobody. Jordan Love draws the start on Friday. That's that.
What's news to me is this Broncos just sold for $4.7 billion. Now that doesn't have much bearing on fantasy, but what I think does have bearing on fantasy is the Bengals just sold naming rights to their stadium, and I think it's because they know that they're gonna have to start shelling out a lot of money to Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. So I think we're looking at that core possibly staying in with the Bengals for the long haul with this Bengals stadium selling off the naming rights.
Well, yeah, I mean, they have the money to do it, regardless. But
they don't have the cash flow to do it. That's the issue. Now they do, because they just sold the naming rights for the stadium. They didn't have the cash flow. They had the money to. The cap is weird. The cap is a mystery.
Yeah, see that. I mean, what's the Bengals owner's net worth?
I don't know that off the top of my head.
Bengals
I just know a move like
Mike,
this to me signifies that they're going to start shelling out money for some of these young guys that are coming into their organization, whereas in the past they were hesitant to shell out money because they had cash flow issues. It's not that the owner wasn't a billionaire. The owner's a billionaire. The organization had cash flow issues. Now they don't, or theoretically won't in the future because of this naming rights deal, which means they're going to be able to afford the contracts that they're going to put on the table for a Burrow, for a Jamar Chase, and for a T. Higgins.
I don't remember hearing they have cash flow issues. I do know the Bengals are notoriously cheap.
Well, I think that's why.
Yeah, they're cheap.
They're cheap because they have cash flow issues.
Yeah, well,
they're not like Las Vegas Raiders where the owners don't have cash flow issues. The owners are flush.
Yeah, I mean, they should have the money. They should have the money to do this regardless, and they need to. They need to keep all three of these together, three of these names together. All of them are under the age of 25, and they just made a Super Bowl appearance. So, yes, it would behoove the Bengals to figure out a way to get all three signed long-term without any luxury tax issues. Should be priority.
I think
1,
that
2,
move,
3, 4, and 10.
I think that move at least helps the chances of that happening without them coming to an impasse with these players. Players thinking they're lowballing them and just saying, "All right, I'm gonna move on." We've seen that stuff play out in the public eye in the past. So looks like they're making moves to avoid that. Now, Alex, for the member stream, can y'all review the teams from the draft? Absolutely. I think that's a fun idea. I think that's a good idea. We can absolutely do that tomorrow, for sure.
Yeah. No problem. Not an issue.
Walmart owns the Broncos? What?
Is that who bought them?
I don't know. I didn't actually see the news come through. I just saw the...
The Walmart heir.
Okay.
The heir to the Walmart throne.
Must be nice.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Must be nice to be the heir to Walmart and just being like,
I'm just gonna
let me just buy the Broncos, who in the past have been one of the more prestigious organizations in the NFL.
Yeah, just walking around playing God.
I mean, John Elway's there. Peyton Manning is part of that. Somewhat involved there. Yeah, I mean, all right, let me just buy that. That's wild. 4.7. What's $4.7 billion? That's crazy. Well, hey, good for them.
Yeah, congrats
good for them.
Nemo
ladies,
to the Walmart heir.
Nemo ladies, Nemo trees, Slim. It's good to see you.
Yes, sir.
Hey, man, it hasn't been all me. I just want to say. Hasn't been all me. I might have partook early on, but it hasn't been all me.
Yeah.
Xavier Dubs, what's happening, man?
What's up, Xavier?
Much appreciated. Much appreciated.
Did you join the Discord? I feel somebody joined the Discord shortly after Xavier became a member, but it was it was not a name that I recognized. So let me know. We'll get you set up with the members Discord setup. If it was you, but I wasn't sure. It was like Mustard something. It was a different name. Anyway, just wanted to call that out.
He just said he did. So welcome to the Discord, man.
Okay, got it.
Mustard Tiger, I like that name.
I remember. Thank you. We will get you. Your member privileges here shortly. In fact, I can do this right now. I think.
Go for it. And yo, Brandon Hooker, good to see you. You saved money at the tight end position in your half PPR auction draft. Came out with Freiermuth and Kmet. Who should be my starter? Honestly, bro, I think it should be different on a week-to-week basis with those two. Yeah.
Like, who are the week one opponents? How did those week one opponents do against the tight end last year? Like, I know it's hard to look back at last year to try to analyze, but I
would say the Bears. It would be Kmet because N'Keal Harry just sustained an injury, and Byron Pringle just sustained an injury, and they're talking up Velus Jones like they're gonna have to play him in an every down role, which means that Cole Kmet should really be ahead of him in terms of the receiving depth chart for that team. It will be Darnell Mooney and then Cole Kmet. Whereas you look at Freiermuth, he's dealing with also a suspect quarterback situation, but Deontay's ahead of him. Claypool's ahead of him. Najee probably ahead of him.
He is.
And you know where he's kind of fighting for a spot with Pickens, and it looks like he's probably going to have the edge on earlier in the year. But I would be playing Kmet week 1 until further notice, or unless Kmet just like doesn't fire 3 weeks into the year and Freiermuth is picking up where he left off with the touchdowns.
Plus, the Bears are at home against San Francisco for week 1, so it's a good team in the 49ers. They were the NFC runner-up. Bears are going to want to come out at home and try to play a good game against a good team, but that could mean that they're trailing. Extra passes in the second half. I guess I'd go Kmet.
Yeah, I'd go Kmet. Then I'd honestly go Kmet until further notice.
Oh shit, we're doing this already where we're like we're looking at the nitty-gritty of week 1. I mean, I'm excited, but like it's like my memory is being rejogged of like streams last year. And obviously, if anybody's not aware, I feel like it's fair to start teasing this type of stuff. We will expand once we hit week 1 to 5 streams a week. That includes start sit advice Saturday evening, 6 p.m. Eastern, Sunday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern before kickoff.
And those streams usually went for a good 2.5 to 3 hours.
Yeah.
At least the Sunday morning stream was from 10 a.m. until kickoff, 1 p.m. So, and that Saturday night stream, usually we had a fair amount of questions to ask in those. So those ones went pretty long too.
Yeah. So opportunity to just have a conversation with us about your start sits options or what your lineup decisions are that you're going through. Depending on the audience size, it will be difficult to get through questions like in a super timely manner, but we make a point to get to as many as we can. And also maybe it will help to like throw it in the Discord as well, get a little extra exposure, because we will have it up and in front of us during the stream as well. So just want to
all the more reason
out.
To be joining the Discord, because you can also, if we don't get to your question in a timely enough manner, you can crowdsource the question in the Discord as well. So all the more reason, if you're not signed up with the Discord, it is the third link in our description now.
Yes, third link in the description. Evergreen invite.
And just so y'all know, the new second link in our description is volume 2 of Nick's 2022 redraft draft kit. He sent me some updates over this was it yesterday?
Over the weekend.
Sunday, and I threw them in there, and it's free. 30 plus pages of free content with the focus on 1 QB redraft, but also some 2 QB tidbits and in there. So it's really comprehensive, and I would urge all of y'all to go and check it out. Second link in our description. Also, if that's not working for you, or you're on mobile or whatever, you can go to our website, facemaskpod.com, and it is the second link under the homepage. So check it out for sure. Really great content there.
Appreciate it. Yeah. And we'll continue to make updates throughout the preseason as well. So anyway, so Brandon, we'll figure, week 1 is also a good time to come back, because, the answer could change depending on the situation.
We do have 4 weeks until then, so definitely subject to change for sure.
Plenty of time. Sam, what's going on?
What's going on, Sam?
Xavier's got some questions. White, is that Zamir White? Like 75 scrimmage yards in the Hall of Fame game. I'm guessing that might be what that's about. As far as Kittle early for Zamir White looked pretty solid.
Zamir White looks solid. We're going to be talking about Josh Jacobs being in that game at all, and for the time that he was in that game later on. That is definitely a topic we want to get to. But Zamir White looked good for a running back that was coming off a knee issue?
Knee injury in camp, yeah. So Not bad. Not bad at all. Kittle early 4th round in full PPR. Yeah, that's a bit of a reach. I do see people taking Kittle over Waller. That's not something I would do.
No, me neither.
Waller in the 4th round could be fine, although I've also seen Waller fall to the 5th round.
I've seen Waller drop to the 6th.
That might be on sleeper, or I'm seeing what I see.
It's been in best balls too. I've seen it happen in both.
Yeah, I see I go off of what I see in underdog, which I feel like are reliable is as reliable ADP as you'll get throughout the offseason. Because it's almost like real-time reactions because it's best ball. Waller in the 5th, I've seen that and have capitalized on that several times in best ball. That what I would prefer to Kittle if you're looking for like a hedge for one of the top tight ends. Obviously, I'm full blown all in on like just get Kyle Pitts. I'm like all in on that, or I'm real damn close to all in on that. Like in the 3rd round. Like if you want to take Kittle in the 4th, Xavier, just take Pitts in the 3rd.
Honestly,
just take Pitts in the 3rd.
Honestly, yeah. 1,000 over 1,000 yards, only scored 1 touchdown last year. Now I know that was with Matt Ryan, but it looks like Cordell Patterson is due for a little bit of regression in the targets area. If you look at how many targets to running backs were per game were given to running backs last year with Matt Ryan on the Falcons, it was 8.4. And Mariota, I think when we last saw him, it was around 4.8. So that number's almost cut in half. He just targets the tight end a whole lot more than he does a lot of other positions. And it just so happens that the tight end that he has on his team is the most athletic tight end in the league.
Of all time.
I'm
being a little facetious, but
close. Real close.
Pitts, I think is a threat for 100 catches at the position. That only happens if your name is Travis Kelce these days. I think he's going to be stellar, and I have no problem taking him anywhere in the 3rd round. If I go running back to start my draft, I'm a little less wanting to do that because I do still want to get a guy who I think can finish as a top 12 wide receiver. But if I have a wide receiver running back build, which is what I have most of the time, I have no problem taking Pitts as soon as the middle of the 3rd round, especially in full PPR, maybe even a little bit, maybe not top of the 3rd. There are some wide receivers with big upside that I think I still prefer, but Pitts as soon as the middle of the 3rd in full PPR, I'm good with that.
And just to answer your question there, Xavier, what is the hype on Pitts? Why is he even a 3rd rounder with the QB he has? Yes, his QB isn't projected to be a high-flying quarterback. But if you look back in 2016, Delaney Walker was the tight end 5.
Yep.
And his number 1 wide receiver that year was Rashard Matthews. If you were playing fantasy back then, you might remember that name. And it wasn't just a 1-year thing. In 2017, Delaney Walker was the tight end 4.
Yep.
He targets his tight ends. He might not be the greatest quarterback in the world, but because he's not the greatest quarterback in the world, he targets his safety blanket more often than not. He's not fitting it into tight windows downfield. He's taking the easy throws and throwing it to his wide receiver, his tight end, not his wide receiver. Just so happens that his tight end this year is basically a wide receiver. But that is why we are high on Pitts, higher than a lot of other people. And we're not really worried. Yes, we think Drake London's long-term prospects are very good, but for this year where he is dealing with Marcus Mariota at quarterback, maybe a Desmond Ridder thrown in there, the number 1 target in this offense is going to be Kyle Pitts for this season.
There's just one real quick thing I want to look up. I pulled up the last time Mariota played extended time for the Raiders was week 15 in 2020 against the Chargers. So it was so at week 15, that was the fantasy semifinals that year in 2020 before we moved to an 18-game schedule. Derek Carr got hurt in that game early and Mariota had to step in. Darren Waller had 9 catches for 150 yards and a touchdown. So Mariota's still throwing it to tight ends.
There you go. He takes the easy way out.
Tight ends.
He takes the easy way out and just dumps it off to his tight end and lets the tight end pick up yak yardage. That's how he operates. So capitalize on that.
So what is the hype on Pitts? Xavier, I will. Why is he even a third rounder? I'll call my shot right now. If he was labeled as a wide receiver and not a tight end, he'd be going in the second round. And deservedly so. He is a unicorn.
I'm not going to go that far because there are wide receivers that are 1,000-yard wide receivers that are getting drafted in the 4th and 5th rounds.
He's a pop this year.
But because you can get basically a wide receiver at the tight end position who will be their team's number 1 target regardless in the 3rd round, I think you should go and get him.
Yeah. I think he's going to be excellent this year. In part because he is a freak and a special player, and in part because Mariota's going to lock in on him.
And I mean, he's super young, man.
He's going to be 22
he's super
in
young,
October.
And as a rookie tight end, had over 1,000 yards. And we've been very vocal about it on on our live streams. The last person to do that was Mike Ditka.
Yeah.
Who was in the Hall of Fame. So
50, 60 years ago.
Yeah. But still, I mean, just put that into perspective. That's wild. He's 21 years old right now.
Yep. I'm all in on Pitts this year.
Yep. And CXK is bigging you up on your advice for Najee and Justin Jefferson in the Discord today. So respect.
Yeah. Listen to this one. I was like, whoa, but then I was like, I think I do it. So he's giving up Najee and a 2023 first round pick. And he's projecting it to be somewhere in the back half of the first round, mid to late, for Justin Jefferson and Rachaad White.
Say it again. I was distracted.
Najee and a 23 first, which will fall mid to late in the first round, for Justin Jefferson and Rachaad White.
Wow.
I was like, just turning Najee into Justin Jefferson, and it's like, I think you just have to do that.
All day. And nobody needs to tell me that I'm on the clock, man. I'm in the middle of a live stream, though. Yo, come on.
Oh, that's why you were distracted.
Yeah, man. Come on, yo.
That's why you were distracted. You're trying to make a draft pick.
No, I'm gonna let it. I'm gonna let y'all.
Let it ride.
I'm gonna sit on it for a while. Y'all
need to soak on this right now. That's fine. Stewing it. Yeah, turned Najee and a first. Hell of a price to pay, but for Justin Jefferson, and you pick up a depth rookie running back to boot.
No, that's real good value, and you're going to be looking 3 to 4 years down the road and thinking, well, damn, I have Justin Jefferson in his prime at age 27. I don't know what his age is right now. I'm just guessing he's going to be around 27 in 3 to 4 years because that is what happens.
Jefferson is 23.
Okay, yeah. In 3 to 4 years, he'll be 26, 27, the age apex season for a wide receiver. And at that point, you're going to be looking at Najee Harris, and he's going to be an aging asset like a Dalvin Cook or a Zeke.
Yep.
A guy that you're going to be hoping you can sell for a first-round pick. So, great move, forward-thinking move. You got Justin Jefferson on your team. Be very happy. So, props to you, Nick, for helping him work that situation out.
I was just kind of like, wow. And then it took about 2 minutes to be like, yeah.
Do it.
Just do it.
Do it. Yeah, and we missed this second part of Xavier Dubs' question. What do you think about the Saints with Winston's foot injury? Maybe trade for Jimmy? I don't know.
Sounds like he's fine. Sounds like it's a day-to-day thing.
Yeah.
And what's going on, AB?
What's going on, AB?
Sounds like the Jameis foot injury is minor. Of course, if we get any confirmation that there's more severity to an injury suffered by any quarterback anywhere, yeah, you can immediately put Jimmy G on that team's radar. And I would expect that the 49ers, that's what they're kind of holding out for, because they know they'll get better value if they wait for the preseason, because obviously the chance of an injury goes substantially higher when you actually start playing football. So I would expect the 49ers are waiting for that. I would expect teams are trying to get him now on a low ball offer, who have unsettled situations. But we're probably going to have to wait till the preseason for that, because once a quarterback injury happens, which unfortunately is highly likely, then we'll see some movement for Jimmy G. But from what I've heard and seen, Jameis is fine day to day.
Now, should we get into some of the news and notes of today of both the Hall of Fame game and preseason coming up and training camp?
Yeah.
Because the first thing on my list is this Mekhi Becton injury.
This news sucks.
Season ending. Now, he wasn't he was drafted very high, but he was one of the worst ranked tackles in protection rankings last season as far as what he graded out as. But it's still a huge loss for this Jets team in more ways than one.
Yeah, so like you mentioned, he was like 11th overall.
Yeah, I believe so.
I think that I don't know why I don't know why I like know that, but I do, I guess. Or correct me if I'm wrong if I actually don't have it right. Started at left tackle for the Jets over the past couple of years, really struggled. George Fant,
11th. Boom.
Don't ask me who 10 or 12 is. I don't know. George Fant is going to be their starting left tackle now. Becton was going to move over to right tackle for them. So he was still going to start for them at a very important position. Reports out of OTAs were the coaches weren't happy with his weight. It was an initially bad vibe in minicamp in June. They asked him to bulk up a little bit more between then and training camp. Reportedly, he did. The coaches were happy with him on day one, when I guess there's probably weigh-ins and stuff like that. Players take physicals and whatnot, or some variation, right? On the first day of training camp, or report day, if that's a separate day. Regardless, coaches were reportedly happy with the progress that Becton made between June and July. Looked bigger, looked stronger, looked better. Practices got underway. There's only so much you could tell in 7-on-7 when it comes to blocking and all that stuff. But I think there was a little bit more optimistic vibes about Becton, and then this happened. So some people are going to say this is not a significant loss because of his poor play leading up to these past couple of years. I'm going to say it's a little more than nothing, though. When you lose a starting tackle, now your depth is squeezed along the offensive line, and it's going to be before they even hit the ground running.
Yeah, now you're relying on a swing tackle. You probably have to shuffle around your O-line, and your depth anyway along the O-line is it's tested. Yeah,
that's going to hurt. That's going to hurt this Jets team a lot. So maybe Becton on the surface as an individual player, it's a big loss because he's a starter for them. If you don't want to sit here and say, well, he's not anywhere close to one of the best tackles in the league, like how bad could it be? Okay, fine. But there are ripple effects to something like this. Now the Jets have to get through. We're still in August. We're still in the middle of August. They have to get through 4 months without one of their originally projected starters. That hurts. That hurts big time. It hurts,
especially for a team that is playing in a division that is loaded. I mean, they got to contend against the Bills twice a year. They got to contend against Mac Jones, who, while he hasn't looked great in camp this year by any chance or by any counts,
Patriots defense is always good.
Right. The Miami team, Miami Dolphins, have made strides themselves offensively and defensively. So it's gonna be tougher for them. It is.
Yeah. So Zach Wilson takes a hit. Breece Hall is you're still drafting him where you were drafting him. But you might not be able to get as creative with with your playbook without your starting right tackle. So there is a minor hit taken. The offense, again, am I ultimately drafting these guys like so much farther down than I originally was? No, but it's still worth noting. Still something to take in consideration when you're between a couple players. It's nice to have somebody on the healthier team. And if it's a better team, if you're between Breece Hall and, I don't know, someone like Cam Akers, might make sense to take the player on the better team. Not saying that with, gun to my head to make a call on a draft pick that I would necessarily do that, but just, this is that type of injury fallout that you just want to keep in the back of your mind.
Yeah, especially with a quarterback can hide a lot of the deficiencies along the O-line, sure. And Zach Wilson is still untested. So it definitely factors in there. Now, another piece of news here. N'Keal Harry injury has Mooney to the moon, says AB. I mean, I think Mooney was trending up anyway. I don't think a N'Keal Harry injury really moves the needle much either way. I think the N'Keal Harry injury speaks more to Velus Jones being their primary wide receiver 2, de facto wide receiver 2 for the start of the season. Especially considering he is he is an older wide receiver, 25 years old, coming in as a rookie, which is something you don't normally see, but he's going to be forced into action right away. I don't think the N'Keal Harry injury has really any effect on Mooney, but I think it has a ton of effect on Velus Jones, so we're going to see if he can sink or swim earlier than we normally would have.
Somebody needs to step up. Well, who needs to step up is the general manager. You got to go get something. Like, you cannot.
Byron Pringle, isn't he injured too?
He's injured too. Like, you mean to tell me this is the wide receiver core you're gonna go start the season with? Like,
it's Equanimeous St. Brown or Velus Jones at wide receiver 2.
You got to do something, man.
Like, they weren't good enough with Allen Robinson, who wasn't really interested in playing, and Darnell Mooney. Now they go from Allen Robinson to, maybe Equanimeous St. Brown and Velus Jones are more hyped to really go out there and give it their all. But the talent drop is huge.
I mean, the person who needs to step up is Ryan Poles, the Bears general manager. Like, you got to go get somebody. Anybody.
Like, we went through our redraft rankings for quarterbacks this year, and you had Justin Fields relatively high.
16,
I'm really
17.
concerned about the team that they put around him.
Oh, it's not
really
good.
Impacting him from a fantasy perspective.
Yeah.
We're not going to see the promise that he showed coming out until year 3, until 2023. We're not going to see it this year. We're just not.
Yeah, I mean, the best you can hope for, I guess, is some some natural development, regardless of a bad, a not impressive supportive cast. What you were hoping to be maybe a little bit of a bread and butter that you could kind of lean on a little bit in the run game is a total question mark now. David Montgomery's getting special team snaps. Like, what's that all about? And outside of, honestly, like a 6-game stretch a couple of years ago, has not been the most spectacular running back. He's been okay.
He's been a low-end RB2 outside of a hot 6-game stretch where he was playing against terrible defenses. If you go back and look at that stretch, he was playing against bottom 10 defenses for that stretch. He's not that good of a running back. He's a poor man's Josh Jacobs. What does that say?
It's not great.
That's not great. Now segue, Josh Jacobs. We got to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, he saw a decent amount of playing time in the Hall of Fame game. The only starter on either side you can say that about for the Raiders.
I thought it was weird he was even in there. Again, the Hall of Fame game is the Week 0 preseason game.
Right. It was treated like a joke 15 years ago, not just, much less today. Not a joke, but for the starters, a game that you didn't put your starters in that game. Maybe like 7 or 8 years ago you did.
You didn't really put your starters into any preseason game until week 2 when they were fringe starters.
Right. They might have you might get a series if you're a starter here and there. Maybe you asked for one because you're just like, hey, I just want, I want the reps. But yeah, you don't really see extensive playing time in the preseason. And for a lot of guys now, maybe for 2 of the games, and now for a lot of guys, it's 1. And it's for like a series or 2, maybe a quarter. So to see Josh Jacobs get the work that he got and the number of snaps that he got in the Hall of Fame game, it's like you don't want to totally overreact, but you can't help but like, what does this mean? Because it's not just the fact that it's not like they're trying to send a message that he's like a backup. It's like, this is a guy that you need to that ultimately, for better or worse, if you're not going to trade him, you need to rely on to get through the season. Running backs go down easily. Like, what point? What point were you trying to make?
They were literally exposing him to injury in the most meaningless game of the year. It's including the preseason.
If Zamir White is your RB1, then let us find that out week 1. And I know from a fantasy perspective, you guys are all like, no, we need to know this stuff now. I don't know. From an NFL perspective, I don't get it. From a fantasy perspective, I'm not like inclined to like give up completely on Josh Jacobs from a fantasy perspective. It's just, I don't know. It didn't make sense to me.
The only thing I can think of is Zamir White was coming off of an injury, and they didn't want to expose him to a ton of reps coming out. But then if that's the case, then give the reps to Trey Ragas. Give the reps to Brandon Bolden. Give the reps to Kenyon Drake, who we really haven't seen do all that much in a Raiders uniform. Mm-hmm. They should know what they're getting from Josh Jacobs, and they still put him out that much in the Hall of Fame game. This is one of the weirdest things I've ever seen.
Yeah. Don't quite get it. Honestly, I'm almost even, I'm even more inclined to be interested in Jacobs if people are going to. So I see him regularly go on 80, in the 6th round of underdog. If this makes him drop to the 7th round, fine, I'll just take him. It feels icky. I understand after seeing that in the Hall of Fame game, it feels gross. But there's value to be had there, and Jacobs will have some kind of role with the Raiders. If it's in the 7th, if you're getting him in the 7th round, instead of hoping that he's their workhorse and you're taking him 3 rounds earlier, I mean, it's not a bad roll of the dice for a guy who has finished as an RB2 at worst through his first 3 seasons.
He's been a borderline RB1, if not an RB1, every single year. He's been given the lion's share of the reps. Now, they didn't sign his 5th-year option. It's pretty clear he's out of here. There were rumblings that they were showcasing him for another team to come in and possibly trade for Josh Jacobs. Then there was a report after the game that wasn't the case. I don't know what to believe. It's all weird, but capitalize on it in redraft. He still can be had at a value because of his depressed ADP as of right now.
So this is a classic zig when others zag situation for me. If people are going to react to the Jacobs news and lower him, taking him a round and a half later than he originally was, when he was already not that expensive to begin with, take advantage. I'm taking him in the 7th round.
Yeah, me too.
Especially in best ball, where I don't have to predict anything. He will have some type of role. And in the 7th round, even if he is inconsistent.
And he didn't look bad in the Hall of Fame game. He looked like regular Josh Jacobs.
Yeah.
So capitalize on it. But let's get to the chat questions before we keep talking about players that ended up in our thumbnail for today. CXK, Lance or Fields and a 23 first in Dynasty. I'd rather have Fields or Lance than Fields in the 23 first. It's close. And I guess it depends on whether or not you're in a 1 QB or 2 QB league. But
if you're playing to win now, Lance. If you're looking at your squad and you're thinking to yourself, I can't compete, I think I don't know if I'm going to compete, then I would take the Field side. Because you're getting the first round pick. Maybe that turns into another more reliable quarterback if it's a super flex league. It's a super flex league because a first round pick is being talked about as it pertains to young quarterbacks.
Put it in the chat if we're wrong, but I mean, I think I want Lance. The 49ers are doing everything right. They have a proven track record of maximizing their skill position and their quarterback strengths. I think I want Lance over Fields. And the 21 first.
I think I would take Fields and a 23 first, and I really like Lance. But I did caveat. If I'm looking at my team and thinking to myself, maybe,
yeah, I would.
Even if you're like retooling, maybe you're like, I got like the 5th or 6th best team, but like not the top, not a top team. Or worse, if you're like, I'm a bottom 6 team, I'm a bottom 4 team. I think I would take Fields in the first. I think
I would keep. Yeah, I'm guessing.
If I like my chances,
I'm guessing you have Lance and somebody offered you Fields in a first.
Yeah,
correct me if I'm wrong. If
that's
the case, I wouldn't be making that move now. I would wait until halfway through the season when Lance has done a whole lot more than Fields and ask for more.
I mean, yeah, you can play that game too.
That also gives you the added benefit of, if you are in the middle, a middling team, you can see which way your team is going. If it's clear your team isn't a contender for this year, it makes more sense to make that move. So that's what I would do. I would wait until week 6, week 7.
Yeah, that's fine.
Then make a deal. But I hope that helps CXK.
He says he has a top 3 team and Lance. If you have a top 3 team, then keep Lance. Yeah. See, that's where I'm saying, like, that's where I'm that's my scenario where it's like, okay, fine, keep Trey Lance because he's going to do better this year. He's going to raise his stock this year. I still like Fields, but I want that Fields in a 23 first. If I'm more like, I'm 6th, 7th, 8th, or whatever, or worse.
And then honestly, capitalize on having Lance on your team this year. Keep him, contend for this year, and then trade him for the 23 first next season in next off season. And you can probably get plus because Fields will have done not well, and Lance will have done real well.
Yeah,
theoretically, that's what we're hypothesizing. So that'll work out best for you in the long run.
Yep.
Hunter L, I did not see this news. Dolphins just traded Adam Shaheen to the Texans. Interesting. Is it because they didn't have need for a blocking tight end because Mike Gesicki was blocking for him so much?
Be their blocking tight
end. Man.
Hunter Long's going to be their pass-catching tight end.
He is the pass-catching tight end of the future. It'll be... I don't think that's this year though. I still think he'll be good for 200 yards and maybe 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, they Shaheen and a 7th round pick to Houston, and Miami gets a 6th rounder in exchange, both in 2023.
Okay.
So there you go.
How does this affect Marlon Mack? Because Marlon Mack is on the Texans.
It's because he's got a good blocker.
Had to ask. Don't hate me.
I do kind of hate you. Don't bring that up.
Well, no, I think this is really good for Brevin Jordan.
This is good
John Mechie going to be out this year because he has he has
They need
cancer.
a blocking. Yeah,
They need a blocking tight end to free up Brevin Jordan to run all the routes that Mechie can't run this year. This is very good news for Brevin Jordan.
Okay. Even though he's running as like the second team tight end.
Yeah, but have you dug into what how the Texans have been, or the beat reporters for the Texans have been talking highly about Brevin Jordan? He's been arguably the highlight of their camp.
I might have seen it in passing.
Yeah, he's been the highlight of their camp so far.
There you go.
And Hunter, the Bears are tanking, but they don't want to admit it. All right, yeah, why don't they go get Fuller? It would make sense for them to go get Fuller.
Would it make sense for Fuller to go to the Bears? I wouldn't be surprised if Fuller was holding out hope that the Browns would show interest and he can reconnect with Watson, but he's waiting on, what type of suspension Watson's facing.
Could happen. I personally think he should go to the Packers, but that's just me.
Packers gotta want to have interest.
Yeah.
Packers don't have interest in anything that's a free agent. It's just they just don't.
I'm not gonna argue with you there.
They are gonna go into the season with what they have. I'm convinced. That's just how they operate.
And yeah, CXK, I do not think that they're tanking for a new QB. We've speculated on live streams that we think they're tanking for a wide receiver next year, which will push Darnell Mooney down the depth chart, and he will become their new wide receiver 2 as soon as 2023. And they're looking at a Njigba, to Hunter's point, or a Keyshawn Butte, somebody like that to come in and really solidify this depth chart, make it look like a depth chart that has a chance to compete in 2022, 2023. Because right now they don't have that depth chart. Darnell Mooney is not a true number 1. He should be and would be on many other teams a very, very, very good number 2.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree with Hunter's prognosis there. And Rojo Fish, good to see you.
What's up, Rojo?
Hunter's hating on Iron.
Making he's taking your picks. Oh, did he take Madison?
Yeah. Theo, what's happening, man? What do you think you can get for Jalen Hurts in a 1 QB league? He's a top 10 quarterback.
Well, he's the top 7 quarterback.
Yeah.
Until week 1 kicks off. Yeah, it's tough.
Don't sell low.
Yeah, it's like, well, what could you use? Like, do you need some, like, you could get, theoretically, you should be able to get a good, like a running back 2 or if in a 1 quarterback, like a solid RB2 or wide receiver 2, quarterbacks just don't have the value in 1 quarterback to get an RB1 unless you're the one who has to attach a first round pick to that or, whatever. It depends on what your team needs. And I know that you're looking, he's not going to, if you're continuing to embrace the tank, because I know Theo's been working on a rebuild. Quarterbacks in 1 quarterback leagues are not likely to fetch you a first round pick. Maybe this year.
I think you should be shooting for a first round pick for Jalen Hurts.
I just don't know if you're going to get it. You could try. You could certainly try.
It wouldn't be in 23, but I think you can get like a 24 first. Yeah.
Well, if you're going to ask for a first, you might as well ask for a 23 first. And
right, but I think people are going to turn that down. I think people are going to turn that down.
That's what I was like. That's what I meant. This year, I don't know that you're going to get a first. Yeah, a 24 first, that might get it done. But also, like, we're, Theo, I know I know you have a rebuild going on, and maybe Hurts is a good sell high guy for somebody who is in more of a rebuild just because, his long-term time in the NFL is a question mark. Although, I don't know if the Eagles aren't going to be in a position to draft one of the top options in next year's draft, most likely. So almost feels like they're going to move forward with Hurts for at least the next, I don't know, couple years.
I think so. I think he's their guy for the next few seasons.
That seems that way. And then maybe in year 4 or 5, if he's like still the same guy, maybe he's only improved a little bit, then they look for something else.
Yeah.
I mean, they could trade up next year, I suppose, because they do have the Saints' first-round pick as well. But if you're talking about 2 picks that land in the teens, that's not going to get you. It might get you into the top 5. But then you got to know that there's a guy there that you definitively want. So I would just be cautious. Like, how many more young players are you trying to sell off? I think Theo's already got like.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to be able to
firsts.
get a 23 first in 1 QB. I mean, you might have to package Jalen Hurts. If you're dead set on trading Jalen Hurts, you might have to package Jalen Hurts with a 24 second or something like
you're
that
gonna have to
to make it enticing enough for somebody to be like, all right, I'll give up a 23 first for him.
Yeah.
And Scott Sharp is on the same wavelength as me.
Yeah, I see that. What's going on, Scott?
What's going on, Scott?
Marlon Mack got himself a blocker upgrade. Wahoo.
Well, news came out that he and Rex Burkhead are co-starters.
They are atop the depth chart.
And
I mean,
Dameon Pierce has been getting all the hype. So, like, I don't know what to think about this running back depth chart for the Texans.
I mean, the Jets listed Breece Hall as their RB3. That's just not gonna be the case. I think they listed Drake London, the Falcons did, as like a wide receiver 3 or 4 on their depth chart. That's obviously not the case. So depth charts can just be smoke and mirrors, and oftentimes they are. So good for Marlon Mack. This very well could be a situation where Marlon Mack actually is the starter, because Dameon Pierce, for all of the intrigue, is still just a 4th-round pick. Mack could conceivably still be the starter down there in Houston.
I think he will for week 1, but I think it could get very muddy down there as soon as, week 3. And we're looking at a full-blown committee by then.
Yup.
Yeah.
Could be.
AB, not one single person is making me feel good about my Bears picks, and I'm getting sad. Hey, Darnell Mooney's a great pick for this season.
Where'd you get him?
Just not a. If you have him this season, I would be thinking about selling him off.
I got him in the 7th round.
Yeah, I mean, but if you're talking redraft, I mean, I think that's fine.
Yeah. Or was that? That looks like that was not. Hang on. Whose pick was that?
Who?
Oh, AB. Oh, yeah. It was AB's. Got it. Yeah, never mind. I guess the only thing I would have done differently was Bateman was on the board. I probably would have taken Bateman over Mooney.
Now you do have the stack, so that helps things out a little bit. And
Sure.
Justin Fields has rushing upside.
Oh yeah, he does.
So that'll buoy his floor. He will have a higher floor than a lot of quarterbacks. You're not going to see him put up 4-point, 3-point weeks like we saw from, Daniel Jones at points last season, like we saw from Ryan Tannehill, I think, once or twice. He's not going to do that. But he just doesn't have the ceiling that you would hope for. But it's a low cost stack for what it will be for Mooney.
Yeah.
You're just not going to have those 30-point weeks from Fields. Yeah. Nemo, what can I get for Josh Allen in our league? I think Hunter L's got the value just about right. Just release him.
Just drop him.
Pick up Matt Barkley. Backup's better anyway.
Yeah, you never know if you're going to need the backup.
Hey, if anybody wants this pick, by the way, hit me up.
There you go. Yeah, you're not gonna.
But let's get back to some of these players that are in the thumbnail or made the thumbnail. J.K. Dobbins, last person here that we haven't talked about yet. Got some real good news. Got some real good news.
Yeah, he was activated off the PUP list. I know he's been eager to practice, so I would expect at this point he should be, as long as we get through the preseason, all systems go, he'll be fine, or he should be able to play week 1. I wouldn't expect the world week 1. First came back. Could be
Mike Davis game.
Could be a low. Yeah, Mike Davis game. Low output for Dobbins. Probably difficult to sit him, depending on your depth. But if maybe if he's your RB3, you opt for a wide receiver. If he's your RB2, you probably have to fire him up. But I wouldn't expect the world week 1. However, this is good news just for his progression for the rest of the season. I would say by the second half of the season, Dobbins should be, as long as he's able to continue unscathed, I would say by the second half of the season, you can start to hope for that form that he showed as a rookie.
Yeah, I'm with that, and I'm with that analysis there, and he got some good news in the form of bad news for his running mate in Gus Edwards. Gus Edwards looks to be he's got the longest road ahead of him in terms of the running backs that were injured early last year to return to the field. Looks like Justice Hill is ahead of him in the road to recovery. J.K. Dobbins obviously ahead of him in the road to recovery. We might not see Edwards really hit the ground running until halfway through the year. I mean, he might be and this is weird considering he got injured basically around the same time that J.K. Dobbins did. He's just having a harder time recovering. And we might not see him until week 5, week 6, week 7. So it's just different people heal differently. J.K. Dobbins is also a lot younger than Gus Edwards. Justice Hill is also younger, like 2 to 3 years younger than, maybe not 2 to 3 years, but 2 years younger than Gus Edwards. Gus Edwards is 27.
Yeah,
it just could be that he.
I thought Edwards. It was relatively close to each other. I thought Edwards got injured a little bit later, like maybe 6 weeks or so. Maybe it was a month.
I'm not sure the timeline. I think it happened before the season.
Yeah, the Dobbins injury happened, and then there was, of course, a brief stretch where it was like, oh, okay, Gus Edwards is the Ravens RB1. Mm-hmm. I feel like that lasted for maybe 3 or 4 weeks. Maybe I'm maybe I'm remembering not or too much time. Regardless, your point stands from the perspective of Edwards just got hurt later, so his timeline is just later than Dobbins. So to all this to say, yeah, like his week 1 status, it's probably fair to put it in doubt right now.
Edwards got hurt on September 8th.
Okay.
And
man, that was right before the season.
Yeah, it hurt because I had a lot of best ball shares of Edwards at that point.
I did too.
So that was September 8th, and Dobbins got hurt August 28th. So we're looking at basically 10 days.
Okay, then what I must be misremember, I guess what I'm because I've seen that Edwards' timeline, according to Edwin Porras, he's the medical analyst for Fantasy Points, is that Edwards is maybe almost like 6 weeks behind Dobbins in the recovery. Without knowing definitively, that might just mean that there was more swelling with Edwards' injury, and therefore he had to wait longer to get the surgery.
Like what happened to Michael Gallup.
Similar thing as Michael Gallup, because to that point, Edwards got hurt. What is that? 10 days after Dobbins.
Yep.
But I think his timeline is more like 6 weeks behind Dobbins, not 10 days, because I think the surgery had to happen a little bit later. So yeah, Edwards will be where Dobbins is at week 1, maybe by like week 4 or 5. And by that point, Dobbins will be ideally, hopefully on a sooner track to return to form.
And Gus Edwards doesn't have a ton of tread on his tires.
No,
but he was relatively utilized through 3 seasons. He wasn't he didn't take a superior backseat to any. He had enough rushes every year to at least get 700 yards in every single season.
Yep, rock solid.
Now he's 27. I don't know if he has. He was never a running back that had a ton of juice. He just bulldozed through guys, which is why he has a career 5.2 yards per attempt. I think that drops this year. I think once he comes back, he's going to be looking at a full yard lower.
It's possible. It's possible.
That just happens with running backs. So,
right.
And I think the Mike Davis signing is indicative of that. I think the Tyler Batty signing is a little bit more just insurance on
it's insurance for both of them, just because they both suffered the injury almost a year to the day, or we're approaching. Running back depth is something that every team needs because the turnover rate is just high.
Yeah.
It's hard to return to form when you suffer those soft tissue injuries.
And Nemo, if you don't want me to snipe you,
injuries.
trade for the picks.
Trade over him.
Is what it is. But what other news do we have for today?
So there's been a couple of things. Kareem Hunt requested a trade, but then he continued to practice. He's not going to get traded. He has the same value that he had 2 weeks ago. Treylon Burks, apparently the vibes have not been good for him. The bad vibes have carried into training camp. Running with the second and third team.
Jason Kelsey underwent elbow surgery. He might not be ready for week 1. Notable.
Yeah, they said he's got a little bit of a cleanup that they did. So
Tyler Algier is listed at 8th at the position on the Falcons depth chart. What?
Smart.
What? Come on, yo.
So much for that.
Oh,
much for that.
Oh, man. Another report on Najee Harris and the Steelers looking to lighten the load for Najee Harris. Juju's been lining up all over the formation at wide receiver for the Chiefs.
Boy.
But it looks like in another report, a corresponding report, the Chiefs could keep 4 wide receivers or 4 running backs and go 4 running backs deep on their depth chart for the first time in a few seasons. Because they really don't have a clear number 1.
Yeah, and Ronald Jones.
Yeah,
I guess.
Then and Isaiah Pacheco, who some people are saying is this year's Elijah Mitchell.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
We'll see about that. I think he's more this year's Khalil Herbert, but.
Khalil Herbert's been in the news too. Involved with the first team offense. Sounds like they're giving him a lot of run with the ones.
And I went back and watched a few runs of his last season. He's a really electric running back, man.
Probably behoove the Bears to get him involved on what is otherwise probably an anemic offense.
When you see him versus seeing David Montgomery, it's really just like, why are you playing David Montgomery? Because if I can correlate it to a running back room that we just were talking about with the Ravens. David Montgomery looks like Gus Edwards. And Khalil Herbert, when put next to David Montgomery, with runs juxtaposed next to David Montgomery, looks like J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what the Bears are doing. But at least maybe they're forward thinking and saying, look, we need to get the more electric guy involved.
And maybe they'll start doing that as soon as this year.
I hope so. They need him. They
need anything.
They need you, fastest man alive.
Yeah, I'll step in and run a couple routes. I don't know how much more I have in me other than that.
Nick Payne or Velus Jones.
Me.
Yeah, exactly. Who's the Panthers QB1? It's Mayfield.
Yeah, they just traded a 3rd-round pick for him. They would look pretty damn stupid if they traded a 3rd-round pick for Baker Mayfield just for them to continue to play Sam Darnold. Like, that would just be so ridiculously stupid. Now, Matt Rule is a pretty stupid guy, so I guess you can't put anything, you can't put anything past it. Matt Rule is going to be looked at this year like Matt Nagy was this last year. Just dumb. The difference is he has a guy like Christian McCaffrey to help
and
bail
DJ
him out.
Moore. Yeah. No, but Baker Mayfield, for all of his faults, for everybody saying he's basically done, ranking him at the bottom of their QB ranks. He's fighting for the 29th spot in a lot of QB rankings. For the first 3 years of his career, he was QB 16 on playing only 14 games.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next year he was QB 18, and the next year he was QB 18. And then in an injury-plagued year, he was QB 25. So I think he can go back to being a middle-of-the-road quarterback and be a middling, low-end QB2, but a steady one.
Like an 18 to 24 ranking range.
I mean, he finished.
He'll have his low-end QB1 week, maybe a QB 13, 14 week in there. Pops in one top 10 week or something, 1 or 2.
And when he has an easy schedule, he can do really well. If you look from in 2020, from weeks 12 to week 17, 22 points, 37 points, 34 points, 25 points, 8 points, and then 19 points. So he can have some boom weeks in there when he's going up against defenses he can exploit and when he's fully healthy.
That's a 4-week stretch of QB1 performances.
Yeah. So Baker Mayfield, he's never going to reach the heights that people projected from when he was being drafted based on where he was drafted. But he should be able to get back to QB 18 on the Panthers. I mean, arguably playing with the best wide receiver he's ever played with.
And no disrespect to Nick Chubb, but certainly the best running back he's ever played with.
Yeah.
And a guy who catches passes at a more elite rate than Kareem Hunt did, his former Browns teammate. So McCaffrey could just do a bunch in the yak department and Baker accumulates points by doing nothing, just flipping it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then DJ Moore is probably between Jarvis Landry has been the steadiest and most reliable pass catcher that Baker's had as a Browns teammate. DJ Moore offers another element just a little bit more of a deep threat.
Odell Beckham has been a finesse receiver over the past few seasons.
Yeah, Beckham's the most talented player Baker played with. Baker just couldn't connect with him.
Right, but I mean, he wasn't. He was a finesse receiver. Jarvis was running the hard routes and stuff like that. If you smash those two wide receivers together and they happen to be 25 and in their prime, that's DJ Moore. Odell on the Browns, what he was on the Browns.
Not Giants Odell.
No. What
Giants
Odell on the Browns.
Level.
And Jarvis Landry on the Browns. If you smashed them two together and made them 25 years old with no injury concerns, that's DJ Moore. So I think Baker Mayfield is underrated by the fantasy community right now. I made a trade for him in a Superflex league earlier this year, and then proceeded to trade away every single other quarterback that I had. But
I've had enough of this.
But no, I think he's being undervalued by the fantasy community. I think people are forgetting that he was, a fine QB2 for the first 3 years of his career. And they're being a little bit too hard on him coming off an injury-plagued season where his shoulder was injured. I think he had a broken rib. Like, the fantasy community's too low on Baker Mayfield.
There you go.
Don't judge him based off of his 2021 season. Personally, Nick might feel differently.
No, he's proven to be a serviceable quarterback.
Exactly.
So, yeah, there's proven talent there, and then just take fantasy out of the equation. He took a Browns team to the playoffs that hadn't been in 20 years. I mean, okay. Wins are a team accomplishment, not a quarterback accomplishment. But he was the quarterback for that playoff run, and they beat the Steelers. They won a playoff game. Baker didn't really have to do all that much. The Steelers were like, we're going to beat ourselves tonight. But it still happened. I think Ben had like 4 picks. It was gross. That was like the game where it was like, okay, Ben, it's time. See you later. And he said, no.
Bow out. Nah, yeah. I'll stick around for a little bit.
I'll stick around for one more year, get some 20 mil, and then bounce. And I will look terrible doing it, but whatever.
And yeah, Jakeem Grant tore his Achilles. Never good to see. Never good to hear about. Hopefully he'll be all right. He was a depth player, so this doesn't have much of an impact on fantasy. But I hope he can come back to full strength sooner than later. Yeah,
absolutely. He's been an all-pro returner. So he's had and guess what? That Browns offense, or you want to talk about wide receiver depth charts that are pretty thin. I know we've been harping on the Bears, and I know the Browns have Amari Cooper, but right now their receiver depth is not much better. So Jakeem Grant probably would.
I think it is. It's just unproven.
It's okay.
I'd rather have David Bell than anybody on the
I'd rather have David Bell. I'd rather have Donovan
I'd rather have Anthony Schwartz than anybody on that team too, because at least he has the youth.
It's objectively better. It's not screaming at you like, "Wow, this is sneaky deep."
No.
But regardless, there are not roles to be won, but opportunities to be had. Jakeem Grant is not, and he's never going to be anything more than a team's probably wide receiver 4 at best, and even then, it's like, you need to upgrade a wide receiver, but he's an all-pro returner. Could have had a shot at doing a little something with the Browns, but not to be, unfortunately.
Yeah, at least not this season. So we'll see.
He's going to be 30, so
true.
30-year-old coming off an Achilles tear.
Yeah, you got it. You got it.
I would love to be, I would love to be glad. I hope Jakeem Grant comes back and kills it. I of course, but it's tough. If he was 22, it'd be one thing. He's 29. He's going to be 30. Achilles tear. Yeah,
that's tough.
We'll see. He doesn't have a ton of wear and tear on his tread, but that's going to be an uphill battle.
And Nemo Roquan Smith wants out of Chicago. Hey, I would too if I was him. So, hey, damn. I don't blame him. William Sampson, what's happening, man?
Come on, William.
Thoughts on CEH? I think him and D-Hop are extremely undervalued on Underdog.
I agree. I actually agree. Now, Hopkins, obviously, it makes sense, right? Because it's a 6-game suspension that you got to swallow. And, you want to have your team set up a certain way before you take the plunge on Hopkins. If you're strong at wide receiver, maybe you got one running back that you can hang your hat on, get some depth guys later because it's best ball. And you can't swap out running backs when injuries take place. Sure. If I'm like running 3 deep and I can get Hopkins, yeah, cool. But obviously there's that 6-game suspension to weather plus the bye week, which I think for Arizona is like week 12 or something like that. So, you have to take that into consideration. That's another game. Everybody misses because of a bye week, but there's going to be 7 weeks that D-Hop doesn't play this year, not 6. So something to just keep in mind. But, you're talking about a guy who should still be able to put up some wide receiver 1 numbers when healthy, because that's all he's been in his career. As for Clyde, I agree. I'm not super bullish on Clyde, but he's now able to be had in the 8th round as opposed to like the 3rd round last year and the 1st before that. But with Darrell Williams gone, Tyreek Hill, that's 150 targets left behind. A lot picked up. They signed Juju, they signed Marquez, they drafted Sky Moore. Obviously, they've replenished the position, but there's theoretically some work to be had to pick up in the receiving game. Clyde has to be the first candidate for that for the Chiefs backfield, for whatever that's worth. He's reportedly running with the ones consistently in training camp. So take every training camp report with a bit of a grain of salt, but obviously that's what you hope to hear with Clyde. At least he's running with the ones. If it was like the Josh Jacobs vibes, it would be like, there's no way, but his vibes are better than that for whatever that's worth. So yeah, in the 8th round for a guy who should be at, even if he's the 1B, it's a great offense. You're taking a guy 80 picks in. Mahomes has no continuity with any of these wide receivers. So, coming into the season. I mean, sure. I'm not pushing Clyde super hard, but yeah, I would say it's a very good roll of the dice in the 8th round.
And yeah, I think it's pretty obvious by now. People were putting a square peg into a round hole with CEH, calling him the new Brian Westbrook.
Whoopsies.
I think he is. If you look at what he is from an athleticism, size, athlete comparison, he looks a lot like Maurice Jones-Drew. He looks a lot like MJD. 5'7", 208 is what MJD is. 5'7", 207 is what CEH is. 92nd percentile BMI for CEH. 94th percentile BMI for MJD. MJD in his first two seasons started off relatively hot. Was the running back 9 in fantasy, and then fell down to the running back 17 in his second season. Now it remains to be seen if CEH can turn his career around the way that MJD did, but it's pretty clear to me that he's not the pass catcher that everybody suspected he is. Now, can he be the bowling ball that MJD was? No, because MJD ran a 4.39 and his CEH ran a 4.6. All right, so they're just not athletically on the same level either.
Not only can he not do this, he also can't do this.
We need to temper our expectations, and I think the fantasy community has for what CEH can't do. But I think we need to remember that he is in a high-powered offense and should be the highest upside running back on the squad. While he's not going to blow you away and have 3 straight seasons of 1,300 plus yards like MJD did halfway through his career, I think he can get back to being at least an 1,000-yard rusher with 6-7 touchdowns a year, 5-6-7 touchdowns a year. Is he going to win you championships? He's not that guy.
No.
But I think he can turn his career around, and he will be given the shot this year. You look at this backfield, it's him, and then it's a bunch of guys. I mean, nobody wants Ronald Jones.
No.
Isaiah Pacheco's a high upside guy. We'll see. But then it's Jerick McKinnon, who's 31 now, right?
Yeah, he's
and
old.
Derek Gore, who I believe, despite him really coming onto the scene for fantasy at least last year for the first time, I think he's 26, so he's not young either.
Derek, yeah, not
CEH is still primed to run away with this backfield.
Yeah, he's still only 23 years old, and we've talked about this before. There's not really such a thing as a third-year breakout for a running back.
No,
that doesn't happen.
No, there is for receiving running backs, and that's not him. You look at an Eckler; it took him 3 years. You look at some of these receiving backs who had to take time to add weight to the frame to come into their own. It took them a few years, but he's not that back.
No, well, he's not that. Yeah, he's not built like a guy like Eckler.
Right.
He's just not. But he could be a scat back. I mean, could he be a better version of J.D. McKissick?
No.
I feel like he can.
I don't think he should. I don't think they should be forcing him the ball through the air.
I don't know if they're forcing it to him.
I think they should try to utilize him between the tackles, not on the goal line. That's clear. That's not his strength.
Well,
we saw that in year one. But use him through just run him through the pile and see if he can escape through, because he's so small and shifty.
He is slippery, yeah. I mean, I guess I was thinking he's 5'8", so it does, I think, behoove them to have him running routes like somewhat consistently. Because the other thing
but he's not he's not a big target. That's why it's just like,
yeah, he's not a big target, but you don't want to be slamming a 5'8" guy into piles like all the time. Because the other thing with Clyde, to that point, on top of some of the inconsistencies and poor performances, he has missed time both years to injury. So it's like, how do we keep this dude on the field? It's kind of the Christian McCaffrey conversation. Like, let's throw him the ball 150 times. Now, you're not throwing Clyde Edwards-Helaire the ball 150 or even 100 times, but the point stands. Like, yeah, he's slippery. You want to run him between the tackles sometimes because he's just a running back by trade, by nature. But let Ronald Jones do that. And Jerick McKinnon could maybe be first man up as the third down back, but Clyde should be running routes, I think. And that's how you keep him on the field. Should you give him 150 carries during the season? Of course. Yes. Again, you draft him in the first round. He's a running back. He's got to get some carries. If you want to keep him on the field, because that has also been an issue for the first 2 seasons of his career, have him run routes.
I think he's going to be a running back like a Josh Jacobs that doesn't get his 4th-year option picked up. So I think, they should just run him into the ground. Run him into the ground and then get him off your squad.
Sure, in theory, can you run him into the ground? Because he's going to get hurt.
Well, you can't throw him out there and let him catch passes all day because he's not Brian Westbrook.
No, he doesn't have to be.
So you got to find out. You got to find something to do with him. He's not going to be your goal line guy.
Yeah.
I think he's miscast as a pass-catching running back. He's not long for your team, so give him the rock as much as possible and let him wear out his tires by the time his contract is up, and then ship him off. Literally, I don't know. I don't know.
That would be me. I would throw him some passes. That's how you keep him healthy.
Fair. I mean, we're at an impasse there. What I can agree with you on is DeAndre Hopkins. Throughout the offseason, I believe he's been being treated like Michael Thomas, and Michael Thomas is injured. D-Hop is just serving a 6-game suspension, but he's fully healthy. He's fully healthy.
We know he's playing week 7.
He was the wide receiver 2 in 2017, wide receiver 3 in 2018, wide receiver 4 in 2019, wide receiver 5 in 2020, and in 2021 he was the wide receiver 6 in fantasy points per target. Now, even if that trend continues, he'll be the wide receiver 7 in fantasy points per target as soon as he hits the field with one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
One of the best fantasy quarterbacks in the league.
Yes. Thank you for the correction. But
capable enough to be a wide receiver, the top 5 wide receiver with that same quarterback.
And you got him for 11 games. Yes, he's gonna miss the first 6, but you get him for 11 games.
He'll be available for the more important part of the season.
Yeah, and you'll have him theoretically healthier than any other wide receiver out, because he will have less tread on his tires for this year in the fantasy playoffs. Yep. He will have only played 7-8 games by the time that you're hitting the fantasy playoffs. So I like D-Hop a lot, and I do think he's being undervalued as well. As far as CEH, I don't know. I don't know what to think about CEH, man.
In the 8th round, there are worse chances to take.
True.
Like, it's all about everybody's got a price, right? That's everyone. That's what it took me, I feel like, a little longer than I'd care to admit. Everyone's got a price. Yeah. And getting a guy of his caliber, and take that phrasing with a grain of salt, like in the 8th round, it's not bad. it doesn't kill you the way it does is if he is who he has been and you're taking him in the 3rd round.
True.
It doesn't hurt as much.
True.
Because at least now, if he stinks, you can throw tomatoes at your TV saying this guy stinks with the stronger starters already ahead of him.
Yeah, it's all right. If you have him as your RB2 and you went 0 RB, or you have him as your RB3 and you went modified hero RB or something like that, it's not going to hamstring your entire season if it doesn't pan out.
Because then you're relying on anchors at wide receiver and ideally, an anchor running back. But then in that scenario, if he performs well, then he's the linchpin that makes your team look like the team to beat.
Because theoretically, if you waited long enough to get him, you have better
better
players at other positions.
5 or 6 picks. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, he can be a league winner, but obviously not, he by himself individually is not. But obviously he has to perform. And to this point, he has been disappointing. But in the 8th round, yeah.
CXK asking a question that we have gotten on the stream, but not recently. Who would you rather have in Dynasty moving forward? PPR, Chase, or Justin Jefferson? Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson? For this year, for me, it's Justin Jefferson.
For this year,
in the long term, it's Chase because he's playing with Burrow. And has a guy taking away defensive attention and T. Higgins on the other side.
Yeah. That's kind of alludes to what Hunter said just below. Like, we don't know who the Vikings quarterback is going to be as soon as a couple of years from now. And we also don't know how much longer Adam Thielen is going to be around. So from that perspective, it's like, okay, Justin Jefferson, 250 targets, let's friggin' go. But we don't know who his quarterback's going to be.
Yeah, I think they extended Kirk Cousins for one more season.
One more season.
It's through 2023, and I believe he's a free agent in 2024. They could, right? Or did they extend him into 2024?
I thought they extended him. No, I don't think they did it through 2024. I think 2023 at the latest.
Yeah, he's through 2023, and 2024 he's a free agent. So as soon as 2024, I think Thielen's gone too, because Thielen will be 34 by that time.
Yeah, he'll be the quarterback for the team this year and next year.
But then, then it's a complete question mark. and they're going to be good enough to where they're not going to be bottom of the barrel picking in the top 3 to get the next best great quarterback prospect. Because Kirk Cousins and Adam Thielen will keep them at least a middling squad.
Yep.
So it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see who they end up replacing Kirk Cousins with. Nemo ladies, side A, Carr, Adams, Waller. Side B, Lance, Debo, Kittle.
So the Raiders stack or the 49ers stack?
Side A.
Yeah,
side B is theoretically a little bit better for Dynasty, but I'd still rather have side A in both formats, I think.
I'd rather have Adams than Debo. I'd rather have Waller than Kittle. That's it. Yeah, I'd rather have Lance than Carr, but not nearly the difference. I mean, the difference isn't significant in either spot. Adams is a pick at the 1-2 turn. Debo's a pick in the mid to late second round. Waller's a pick around the 4-5 turn. Kittle's a pick around the 5-6 turn. So you're not talking about significant differences, but differences enough in 2 out of 3 of the spots where it's like, yeah, give me the Raiders.
And yeah, I want Lance if he hits his ceiling. But if he doesn't pan out, I would much rather have Carr. Carr is the safe option here.
Carr is the safe bet.
If you're going with high upside, Lance is the high upside play, but there's a chance he doesn't pan out for all of the upside that he has, for all the promise that he has. When you combine that with the fact that I'd rather have Waller and Adams over Tebow and Kittle, I'd rather have side A, and it's not that close for me in any format.
I mean, I won't say it's not that close, but in two of the three pieces, the wide receiver and the tight end, I'd rather have the Raiders side. Dynasty, yeah, the most important piece in this in Superflex, the most important piece in this conversation is Lance. In one quarterback, the most important piece of this conversation is Debo. So, like you said, the weight of the conversation from a dynasty perspective shifts to the 49ers. But if it's just for this season, or maybe even in the short term, the Raiders, side A.
Joshua Little, good to have you in here. Is there any player that either of you have changed views on since the beginning of the offseason? I'm just going to go ahead and say mine is Deontay Johnson.
Drake London.
I mean, yeah, Drake London. Yeah, he's up there. He's more than Deontay.
Or what were you going to say about? Oh, okay.
With Deontay, he came off of last season being the wide receiver 8. We were very high on Deontay Johnson, thinking, okay, they're going to get a quarterback. We all thought at the beginning of the offseason that the quarterbacks were going to be better than they were, or ended up being, or at least would get the better draft capital than they ended up getting. People were speculating Malik Willis to the Steelers because Tomlin was reportedly in love with Malik Willis. But with just the downgrade that I've had to put on the quarterbacks coming into the league, the rookie quarterbacks coming into the league, plus the other mouths to feed in this offense, they drafted Pickens, they drafted Calvin Austin, combined with the fact that they have those other guys in the offense. Like, coming off of the year, I was thinking, okay, Deontay's a top 12 wide receiver moving forward. Let's go. Now I think he's a top 24 wide receiver who's going to have some down weeks that we are not happy with. So that's why my mind went straight to Deontay Johnson, because it's not that I changed my mind completely on him.
Your feelings changed, and that's what the question is.
Yeah, but it's not that I'm out on him. It's just that I'm much less bullish on him now versus the beginning of of the offseason. But Drake London, yeah, he falls into that territory for me too. You want to speak on that a little bit?
I mean, so we're very. I think maybe me a little bit more than you. I'm incredibly high on Kyle Pitts for the Falcons, and we want to keep some expectations in check as it pertains to just wide receivers that have to play with Marcus Mariota, because over the course of his career, and I know obviously he's a veteran, a little bit older at this point, it hasn't been good, and we've been a little bit. We've questioned Drake London a little bit throughout the pre-draft process. It's kind of currently making us look a little silly with some of these training camp highlight videos, which is fine. I'll admit when I'm wrong. But with London, it kind of feels like he can have maybe like what the type of year Devontae Smith had last year, where he is operating as the number one on an offense that we don't necessarily expect to be very good. But he himself is a good enough player to get enough done to garner 100 targets, maybe 120 targets, in an offense where they'll likely be trailing a lot this year because the Falcons are tanking. That defense hasn't been good for years. It's probably not going to be good again. They don't even want it to be good. The Falcons are one of those teams where they're looking at their year this year and saying to themselves, we want a top 5 pick. We want an opportunity to get one of the 2023 quarterbacks. You can firmly put them in that conversation. There's going to be a lot of garbage time for Atlanta. So the quality of targets might not be great, but London is far and away the best wide receiver by name or by position on that team. Kyle Pitts excluded. He's just going to be peppered with a ton of targets. And while it might not be pretty, while it might not be efficient, I have come around to the idea that London could have a 65 catch, 850 yard, 4, 5, 6 touchdown season.
And in Dynasty, It looks like they're going to be in a position to draft one of these quarterbacks high next season.
London, you want in Dynasty. To that point, yes. London. I was originally like on his redraft. Take Dynasty out of the equation because I've come around to the idea of him being a great long-term prospect. Or at least a very good one. This year, I was like, yeah, he's going to take some lumps. There's going to be growing pains. The team's not going to be good. The quarterback's not going to be good. I'm not 100% sure how much I believe in him. I've come around a little bit more to the idea that he can have like kind of what Devontae Smith had last year, who also played with a good pass catching tight end. And, the Eagles have Dallas Goedert. It's fair to say that, already Kyle Pitts might be there as a player, maybe not as an overall tight end, but at least as a pass catcher. So it's a similar situation. So it could be a wide receiver 3 with wide receiver 2 weeks. Trying to think if there's another guy. I had a couple of guys that were that I was originally thinking about. I'll say Amari Cooper in a good way. I was originally all the way off on Cooper just because, the group think, Cleveland's going to have Jacoby Brissett as their quarterback this year. But again, what do backup quarterbacks do? What do quarterbacks who aren't that good do? They lock in on their top target. And Amari Cooper is the clear top pass catcher on the Browns. He might get 12 targets a game. And Cooper's good. It's not even like you have to question how good Cooper is. He's a proven player at this point. He's been a little inconsistent throughout his career. But he can give you bona fide wide receiver 1 weeks.
Yeah.
Multiple times a season. And now his ADP, the concerns surrounding Deshaun Watson is baked into his ADP. You can get him 70 picks into a draft on Underdog Fantasy. I've really come around to Cooper.
And I mean, we've talked a lot of wide receivers. So I want to throw some running back names into this discussion too, real quick before we move on.
Khalil Herbert.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say Chase Edmonds for one.
Chase Edmonds is a guy that I'm looking at.
I've turned around completely on him. Devin Singletary, I turned around on him.
I always liked it. I'll say I was pretty in on Singletary from the beginning.
No, you weren't, bro. You were totally in the Zach Moss camp. You were
Last
totally
year?
in. Yeah.
He's talking about this season.
All right. Well, after this season, you were all in on Devin Singletary and
since
Dynasty?
since the beginning of the offseason. Yeah, last year I wanted Zach Moss. This year Singletary was regularly being drafted in like the 8th round. But this was again before James Cook got drafted. I was like, yeah, I want Devin Singletary.
All right.
Yes. I'll go back and show you my teams I drafted before the NFL
You don't need to do that. It's cool. I believe you. All right. But there you go. I do just want to throw those two names out. Chase Edmonds, Devin Singletary. I was under the impression that Devin Singletary was a complete replaceable back, and I'm not under that impression anymore. I think
last year, yeah.
I think there's a chance that they could even re-up him with him once his contract comes due. So just want to throw a couple of different running backs out there just because we answered that question with wide receivers. But Joshua, that's a great question. Great question.
I'll throw one more in there who's running back eligible now, and this isn't just because I just drafted him in our members only league, but
Cordarrelle?
I was way out on Cordarrelle Patterson to begin the offseason.
Now the real question is, how do you pronounce his name? But we don't need to go there. Continue.
The correct way, like I am. Anyway, with Patterson, this was a situation where I was like, I want to find the guy who's 50 picks cheaper than him because he's going around pick 100. I don't know if he can replicate last year's numbers. Feels like it might have been a flash in the pan. He tapered way off in the fantasy playoffs. He was not usable in the fantasy play. You were firing him up because he had been so good to that point. But in the fantasy playoffs, he did not deliver. So ended last year with a bit of a dud, couple of duds. I was of the mindset, the Falcons are going to draft a guy or two. They're going to give their young guys an extended look. Patterson's 31 at this point. They're giving guys like Avery Williams first team snaps in camp. I'm just, at this point, I have just come around to the idea that he's their best player in that backfield, and he's probably just going to catch 50 passes, and he's going to run for 120 times, and be yet again a sneaky PPR monster. Now, I think he had a couple of big touchdown games last year that really blew up his stats. So you can't bank on those games again. You can never bank on a 3 touchdown game. I'm pretty sure he had one of those in like week 2 or something. You can never bank on those. But at this point, again, Mariota, we've talked about, what does he do? He's a quarterback who plays it safe. Pass catching running back is a dumping it off, checking it down, right? Dink and dunking type of strategy that we would probably associate with Marcus Mariota, right? I'm taking Patterson 100 picks into a draft on Underdog Fantasy now, especially for best ball, when I don't have to predict the bad weeks or worry about, I don't have to worry about the bad weeks or predict the good ones. He'll just be there for me. The weeks that he catches six passes for 75 yards, throws in a touchdown here and there. Yeah, Patterson would be the guy that I would say that comes to mind as I was like, I don't care in May. And now here we are in August, and I'm like, Cordell Patterson.
And just to round out, we didn't talk about any tight ends here. The old guys, man. Like, I thought, of course, Rob Gronkowski was going to be playing, and I thought, all right, shoo-in to be an RB1 or tight end 1 again. Now he's not playing. So obviously, change in thinking there. But Zach Ertz, coming off of last year, I thought, okay, Zach Ertz was a 1-year Band-Aid at the position because they had Max Williams, who got hurt halfway through the season. They needed a guy to replace him. So Zach Ertz was the guy that they chose. But I mean, they re-signed him to a 3-year deal. Yes, they brought in Trey McBride through the draft, but tight ends take 2 to 3 years to start being difference makers unless you're Kyle Pitts. So, or Pat Freiermuth for that matter, but more Kyle Pitts. I mean, I think that Zach Ertz is a tight end 1 this year. Mm-hmm. Whereas after the season, I thought he was pretty much an afterthought. So he's one. There's a couple of tight ends, honestly. I mean, I was higher on Pat Freiermuth coming off of last year until I dug into his numbers and realized it was all crazy touchdown.
I'm trying not to get too excited about Freiermuth for that reason.
Yeah. And then there's the sleepers that we talk about pretty much every live stream. I was not high on Mo Alley Cox. Now I am. I was not high on Tunyon coming off an ACL injury. Now I am. I wasn't high on Gerald Everett coming off a year where he should have had a really good year, but was just kind of a middling tight end with Russell Wilson, though he finished the season hot. Now I'm all the way in on Gerald Everett.
Yeah, Russ
so
missed time. That definitely affected the offense.
Yeah. So just to round out that question with a couple of tight ends, there are a myriad of tight ends that I've changed my mind on since the end of last year.
And he asked us, Theo, I see your quarterback question, but he did ask us if we could elaborate on Edmonds.
You want first crack?
Sure. I mean, yeah, I will. And it's a two-parter. The simple question to the second, or the simple answer to the second part of the question is, yeah, I think he is the Miami running back to have.
Yeah.
And in this situation, I know it's not always foolproof, but for me, it's like follow the money. Follow the dollars. Look at the money that they paid Chase Edmonds relative to what they paid Raheem Mostert and Sony Michel. It's significant. They paid Edmonds to be their starting back.
And they brought him in. Sorry to cut you off. Just a quick point there, and then you can continue. They brought him in early into free agency. He was clearly a target for them. He was one of the first dominoes to fall in the free agency period when it opened up. They went out and they really paid him, but they paid him early on. Right. They paid him early on into the process, but continue.
Yeah, they identified him as a piece that they wanted to add to the offense. They got it done. Raheem Mostert was signed to pennies compared to what they gave Edmonds. Sony Michel was signed to pennies compared to what they gave Edmonds. Now, does the money automatically mean that they expect Edmonds to be a workhorse for them, a 3-down back? No, we're not expecting that. We expect if healthy, Raheem Mostert mixes in there. Sony Michel mixes in there. Who else do they still have? Who do they have down there
Myles
now?
Gaskin, Salvin Ahmed.
Yeah.
There's a Quandre White.
I thought they brought in somebody else. Maybe not. Anyway,
I don't think so.
Edmonds is going to get, if healthy, which has been an issue with him, but also it's an issue with pretty much every running back, Edmonds should get 250 touches. And a lot of those are going to be dump offs out of the backfield because he is their clear pass catching running back. What else would you pay a guy like that for? So he's got crazy good value in the 9th round. maybe more like the 7th or 8th round if it's like a full PPR league. But if you can get him in the 9th round or so, you're talking about one of the cheapest targets at the position as far as starters, regardless of whether you go hero RB, modified hero RB, or zero RB, because he's going to get maybe not a traditional starter's workload. He's going to get a starter's workload from the sense of what his skill set is as a pass catcher and the money that they paid him.
Yeah, I mean, you look at what he did last year. He played 12 games. He only scored 2 touchdowns, but he was RB23 in fantasy points per game. He was a low-end RB2 while only scoring 2 total touchdowns rushing and passing. How did he do that? He had 5.1 yards per carry, which was his highest yards per carry through his 4-year career.
That's good.
And through 12 games, he had 43 receptions, 53 targets. What do we want from our running backs? Targets. What do some of the best running backs in the game, the Kamaras and the Aaron Joneses, they got targets. They're not always 1,000-yard rushers. I don't think Kamara's ever been a 1,000-yard rusher, but he does both things relatively well. And I mean, it's and we're talking poor man's version of that, but still a guy that still equates to fantasy points, that still equates to fantasy value. And when you compound that with the fact that they have Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill and Mike Gesicki, it means that opposing defenses aren't going to be accounting for the running back to be open in space, which he will be a lot. And what does Tua like to do? Target the short route more often than not. Target the easy out. We're going down this rabbit hole. There was a point with Tua. He was number 2 in protection rate last year. And let's go to air yards per attempt, 31st in the league.
That's that low ADOT.
So despite having all of the protection that he could ask for, there was only one quarterback who had better protection in 2021 than Tua. He still wasn't airing it out. He still wasn't going for the long bomb a lot. And while that will happen more this year with Tyreek, it's just not in his makeup as a quarterback. He takes the safety valve option more often than not. And this year, that option is going to be Chase Edmonds a lot.
Yeah.
So I like that. Those are some of the reasons why we like Chase Edmonds. Long story short, Chase Edmonds is underrated at his ADP, for sure.
Yeah. Agreed. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, hopefully. Hopefully we sold you on Chase Edmonds. Nemo, who are the 6 only running backs who have been rated 99 according to Next Gen Stats? You threw that stat in there and didn't elaborate.
McCaffrey, I don't McCaffrey, Saquon, or I don't know if we're talking about all time or currently.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Elaborate.
Williams talking about. I think he's still talking about Clyde. I don't remember that. It sounds right though. He had surgery and lost some weight. Yeah, I agree. I mean, we talked a lot about Clyde already. John and I are kind of on different sides of the fence. I'm a little bit more willing to take a shot on him in the 8th round.
No, it's not that I think we're both willing to take a shot at him. We're at his ADP.
It's
just the expectations are a little bit different on both sides. Yeah. Like, I think they should run him more. You think they should use him as a pass catcher more.
Yep.
But we both think the ADP is a value.
The ADP is a good value. Yeah, that's fine. If you hammer CEH in the 8th round, I have no problem with that. Took him a couple times yesterday in a couple of slow drafts.
Hey, and Nemo, side A, Herbert, Chase, Gabe. Side B, Mahomes, Jefferson, Bateman.
Man, that's close.
I think I want side A. We're splitting hairs, but I'd rather have Herbert than Mahomes.
Splitting
hairs, rather have Chase than Jefferson. So I got to go with the side that I'd rather have 2 out of the 3 on, even if it is very close and we're splitting hairs.
Yeah. the linchpin is Gabe versus Bateman. Because for this year, I'd rather have Herbert. For this year, I'd rather have Jefferson than Chase. If this is like a long-term dynasty question, then I'd rather have Chase. And so from that perspective, I want side A. But for this year, there's more of a conversation for redraft for side B. There's more of a conversation, or there's more of an argument to take side A in dynasty.
I think I would rather have side A in both.
I mean, it's close.
Because Herbert is just...
Herbert's stupid. I understand.
The ceiling for Herbert is insane. And
Herbert's
the ceiling,
unbelievable.
And Mahomes, the ceiling for Mahomes is insane too, but you look at the weapons he has to deal with this year. He is going to be hamstrung by not having Tyreek for the first time in his career. That is going to hurt.
Yeah.
So all else equal, I would rather have side A. Theo, do you think I should get rid of Kyler if I keep Trevor Lawrence, Hurts, and Corral?
No, trade Hurts.
Yes.
If you have Kyler, trade Hurts, keep Kyler and Trevor, right? 2 number 1 overall picks. Corral, whatever, has no value in a 1 quarterback league. No offense. Hurts is a guy that if you think you can get a 2024 first for, then sure, do it, because you have Kyler, and then you have a really strong backup in Lawrence, who has more stability long term in the NFL as a former number 1 overall pick.
Yeah.
For this year, I'd rather have Hurts, and maybe for next year too. But Lawrence has more long term stability being a number 1 overall pick, and then Kyler is
being a pocket passer over an athletic specimen rusher. I mean, he's going to stay in his prime for longer.
Yeah, trade Hurts, because if you think you can get a 2024 first for him, then do that, because you still have Kyler. Yeah, do that.
Yeah.
Even a 25 first, that would be fine for me too.
Honestly, if you can package Hurts and Corral, are we expecting Corral to hit to start all that often in the NFL?
Well, I think to that point, what does adding him to the deal?
If it's the throw in that'll make the difference between you getting the first in 24 versus 25.
Okay, fine.
I'll throw in Corral.
Yeah, if the condition is I'll give you the 24 first, but throw in Corral for good measure, then it's okay.
Yeah,
fine.
So at least entertain that. That's all.
Fine.
That was my point in bringing that up.
Okay, got it. That's fair.
Riley VIP, what's happening, man?
What's up, Riley? Do we believe in Saquon? Better believe we believe in Saquon, or I do. I certainly believe in Saquon. I'm all in on drafting him in the second round.
Nick has been leading the charge on Saquon, and I have to tell y'all, man, I'm down to follow suit on that.
He was looking like he was returning to form last year, weeks 3 and weeks 4. He had 18 and 20 some odd fantasy points for weeks 3 and week 4. Picked up an ankle sprain week 5 in a fluky situation where he kind of got tackled weird and late after the whistle. Suffered the ankle sprain, forced him from the game. He missed, I think, 3 weeks. Ankle sprains wreck seasons. They don't wreck careers, but they wreck seasons. Was able to return to play. I think maybe around week 10 or 11. I think they had a bye week 9 or something like that. So they held him out through it, of course. He returned week 10 or 11. I think for the rest of the season, he only had 1 game where he was over 100 yards from scrimmage. So it wasn't good. It was like pulling teeth for Saquon. And so that's that's what people are currently remembering. That's the taste people currently have in their mouths as it pertains to Saquon. Another year where it was kind of mostly overall disappointing. After tearing his ACL early the prior season. He's 2 years removed from the ACL, and while ankle sprains are a pain in the ass for any one given season at the time, they are not lingering long-term concerns. So the lingering issue or injury that it takes time to come back from is the ACL that Saquon is now 2 years removed from. And all we've heard throughout camp so far is that Brian Daboll, the new, you couldn't do much worse than Joe Judge, who is a boob, Is it any coincidence that the Giants were awful on offense last year, and now he's back with the Patriots, and there's reports out of Patriots camp that the Patriots offense is struggling? Gee, thanks, Joe Judge. In his Brian Daboll, this feels like a much stabler situation for the Giants than they've had in years. They invested in the offensive line. The offensive line should be better this year. I don't need Daniel Jones to be anything more than maybe slightly better than what he's been to this point. Only a smidge. But again, it doesn't take much for a quarterback to just dump it off to a running back. I think Saquon retains his 80-85 catch upside with this more innovative offense that we can expect for the Giants. As I'm talking, I want to draft Saquon even a little bit higher than I currently am. Yes, I'm in on Saquon.
And I echo all those sentiments. I'm in on Saquon as well.
Yeah. I mean, in the second round, he has overall RB1 upside. Yes, I will take that.
And Nemo, only 6 have an all-time rating of 99 for next-gen stats. Jonathan Taylor, Saquon Barkley, Nick Chubb, Travis Etienne, Melvin Gordon, and Breece Hall. All right. That is a good list.
Did this stat start getting kept like a few years ago?
I don't know. I guess since next-gen stats inception, sure. It'll be interesting to see where the 2023 running backs stack up. I don't have a subscription to next-gen stats, so I don't know. But it'll be interesting to see where Bijan Robinson and Zach Evans and Sean Tucker and a couple of these guys from the 23 class who are highly touted rank against some of these other guys you listed. But that is a good list.
Yep. I'd say that's solid.
And Joshua Little, since we're on Miami, is there any thought around Mike Gesicki catching a ton of balls underneath underneath coverage on a regular basis? Now, Nick brought this to my attention. Looks like Mike Gesicki has been primarily a blocker in camp.
They've been asking him to block a lot for whatever that's worth.
Which is literally something he's never been asked to do.
It feels kind of suspect. Like, it's almost like, how much can I actually believe this report? But it's not totally hard to believe. Gesicki has been billed as like a pure pass catcher at the position. And I think through the first, maybe 5-6 weeks of the season last year, he was a high-end option at the position. And then he bottomed out. It wasn't even like he petered out.
That happens to him every year. And in
2020,
in 2019, he was number 3 in slot snaps for tight ends. In 2020, he was number 2 in slot snaps for tight ends. And in 2021, he was number 1 in slot snaps for tight ends. He's not getting blocking work. Is my point there. Through the last 3 seasons, he's basically been a receiver in this offense. And it has only amounted to him, really exploding from a production standpoint for small stretches in a season. He's never put a full season together, despite having been given the opportunity to do so in 3 years running, increasingly so. I don't know, and it seems with the other pieces in this offense now, they're asking him to block because they want to force the issue with Tyreek Hill. They want to force the issue with Jalen Waddle. He's not going to be given the chance to force the issue with. He has to play cog in the system role. He's going to be used as a blocker more often than not, and he won't be given top 3 slot snaps on a year-to-year basis anymore, on a week-to-week basis anymore. I don't think that's in the realm of possibility for him. Especially with Adam Shaheen going elsewhere. It means he's going to have to do the dirty work that Adam Shaheen was doing for him.
Yeah,
I'm not high on Gesicki this year.
I think
I've never been high on Gesicki, but
I think his touches went to Jalen Waddle and Chase Edmonds, and then they traded for Tyreek Hill. It's hard to feel, it's hard to feel overly optimistic about Mike Gesicki.
He has one of the highest RASs of any tight end in ever. He does. He has a higher RAS than a Gronk, a Kelsey, Hawkinson. He's up there with Kyle Pitts from a size, speed, size, athleticism standpoint. He just hasn't been able to put it together yet.
Mm-hmm.
And he's coming into his age 27 season. Typically, that is the age where a tight end really starts to fire. But the reports don't match up then. If this is where he's really supposed to, come into his own, and now they make him block? It's messy, it's weird. We've seen him been given the opportunity before. Has it worked out for fantasy in stretches? I'm just not in on Mike Gesicki. The cost is higher than what his end of season value usually is, especially in Dynasty.
There you go.
And I said RAS, so all y'all have to drink.
Shot.
Theo, should you drop Corral? No, but this is a case for you to have your taxi squads in your league.
Yeah, add those taxi squads.
Add taxi squads in your league. If you are in the Discord, Nick put a great article in the Discord a few weeks ago about what taxi squads are and why you should have them. Basically, practice squads for your fantasy team.
Honestly, if you ever have a question pop into your head about league settings or roster settings, just ask Google and put sleeper at the end. You will get a reliable article about an answer to what you're looking for, no matter what it is. I did it today. I had a question we're doing a members only draft, and one of the guys he was like, "Yo, I have more picks than rounds in this draft. Is that going to hurt me? Do I need to do anything about that before the end of the draft?" So I looked up more draft picks than draft rounds sleeper and found an article where it was you can overdraft. That's fine. And if you have IR eligible guys, you can stash them without having to cut anybody. You're just going to have to potentially cut some guys before you can act on waivers if you're not able to stash them in IR or anything like that.
Yeah.
So you can if you have a question about settings, just ask it in Google and attach sleeper at the end. You'll get some good get some good information. But yeah, you can do that for just taxi squad sleeper. Boom. If you're unfamiliar with them. But if you are familiar with them and your league doesn't have them,
be the advocate for them.
Be the driving force behind it.
Yeah.
Fun little addition.
And yep, Riley, we agree on Saquon. Honestly, you're saying honestly you take him over Swift and Kamara if available. Thoughts? Worried about the Saints altogether. Swift may not be as big of a workload as we like. Saquon worried about the overall offense for the Giants.
Saquon, Kamara for me.
I would rather have Swift.
I'm taking Swift first, but I'd rather have Saquon than Kamara.
If the legal issues weren't there for Kamara, I'd rather have Kamara than Saquon.
Okay. Even if Kamara was incident free, I'd rather take a shot on Saquon. Maybe it's close. It's close, but Saquon has overall RB1 upside. Kamara, I guess, does, but I don't know. The ceiling feels lower, and that's more just I think Saquon is just a slightly superior talent. Saquon can catch the ball as well as Kamara can. Saquon can run through the tackles much better than Kamara.
Yes, and in his best season, Saquon was given as many targets as Kamara.
Yep.
That season,
and he can run,
and he got the borderline 300 rushes on top of that.
Right. Yeah, so and he's the better runner.
Their ceilings, yes, Saquon has a higher ceiling. I don't know if Saquon gets as many receptions as Kamara this year. I still think Saquon gets enough receptions to finish higher than him when taken into account his rushing as well, but he's also had to deal with injuries, so you do have to factor that in. But with that said, Kamara with the suspension, got to factor that in too. So I stand on where I stood before. I Swift before both of them. Saquon then Kamara. If Kamara didn't have the legal issues, I think I would rather have Kamara just because Saquon does come with some injury concerns that you can't ignore. But his ceiling is higher than every running back in the league if he can stay healthy and is as heavily targeted and utilized as he was in year one, for sure. What is your hesitancy on Swift, Riley?
Yeah, I have none.
Swift is going to be playing in the best offense he's ever played with the best O-line he's ever played with by far. And he's playing with a facilitator at quarterback who has facilitated Todd Gurley being the RB1, albeit on a different team, but his new Todd Gurley with more longevity, higher receiving upside is DeAndre Swift. And DeAndre Swift came in jacked this year into camp.
Oh, he's ready.
He's ready. I love Swift this year.
Yep, sign me up.
And Riley doesn't trust the Saints this year?
Oh, they're going to be better this year. They're
Riley,
look
fine.
at the offense.
Don't worry about the Jameis injury. It looks like Michael Thomas is going to be back. So what's not to like?
This year, their offense is Jameis Winston, Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas, Jarvis Landry, Chris Olave. Last year, it was, when healthy, Jameis Winston, Alvin Kamara, Marquez Callaway, Traquan Smith, Deontay Harris. Like, you tell me which receiver group you'd rather have, you know? Like, and the team that they have Thomas, Landry, Olave this year. This Saints offense is not something to be concerned about. And Rojo already mentioned it. The defense has year in, year out been strong.
Yeah. And Jameis was really good when healtly last year.
Jameis was solid last year.
Do you remember last year he started off the year with a 50-point fantasy game? Playing with Marquez Callaway.
4 touchdowns. Yeah.
40 point. Okay. He had 5 touchdowns.
Oh, I thought he had 4.
On 20 attempts.
Yeah,
and also added some rushing upside. Like, the guy can score fantasy points. And obviously, if you're passing for 5 touchdowns, you're most likely winning the game. So I'm not concerned about the Saints.
No, they'll be fine.
They'll be good. And underrated defense too.
Their defense is regularly solid. Yeah, they will be much better this year. With a healthy Jameis. Obviously, if Jameis gets hurt, they're in trouble because they don't have a backup quarterback. They have Andy Dalton.
And Taysom. Remember Tamus? Tamus. Should I drop Travis Homer? I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
What's the upside? What are you looking for?
There's
Drop
nothing there. Yeah, I mean, it's even with Chris Carson's retirement. Is he still even in Seattle? Is that where he is still? It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
But yeah, look at Rojo's point. Jameis was 5-2, 14 touchdowns to 3 interceptions, and this is Jameis, so that's crazy.
Jameis was nice last year.
With his wide receiver 1, who is now his wide receiver 4. Yeah, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Saints are going to be nice this year.
Yeah, they should be better. Should be a lot better this year than they were last year. The defense was good last year. It's just easy to forget because they had Taysom and Ian Book and Trevor Siemian taking snaps at quarterback. They were sunk before they started once Jameis went down. So yes, everything hinges on Jameis being healthy, but even then, at least I guess whatever. Andy Dalton inspires zero confidence, but he's better than the guys I just mentioned. So they could at least stay a little bit more competitive in the event of a Jameis injury. Or maybe they're the ones that trade to that. But yeah, maybe Jameis's injury turns out to be worse than we expect. He's day-to-day right now, so I don't think that's the case. But they could still go get Jimmy.
I don't think it's going to be worse than we expect. If anything, he misses the first game or 2 of the year.
Yeah, probably not.
If that, and that's not enough for them to go out and pay for it, Jimmy G. I think they would just rock with Andy Dalton for 2 games and then put Jameson in week 3 if that were the case, and we're not even worried about that. He should be fine. They're just going to hold him out of preseason game.
Honestly, I mean, and then just to kind of wrap a bow on this, with who was it? Riley's question about Kamara. Like, I mean, Kamara's going to be playing on the best team. Like, no question, as far as Saquon on the Giants and DeAndre Swift on the Lions. There's no question the player who's playing on the best team, that's Kamara. And that's a strategy too. Like, I want good players on good teams. That's absolutely something. Like, I have seen plenty of people opt for the guy on the better team when splitting hairs when guys are in the same tier. So, if that's something that sways you a little bit, then you can move Kamara up your rankings a little bit. Me personally, I am opting for what I think is, talent plus situation in these 3 rankings here. And for me, I'd rather have Swift because I think that the Lions are going to be playing catch up more often. They're going to be trailing games more frequently. That sets Swift up as a pass catcher. Same argument for Saquon, except Saquon is the most supreme talent of these 3 players. Obviously the question is, can he stay healthy? He's missed extensive time, basically the past 3 seasons. But his upside remains through the roof. And then Kamara, I guess, of these 3 guys is the safe play, which feels almost weird to say. But I would rank him a close 3rd, not a distant 3rd, but a close 3rd. And then, of course, like John already mentioned, there is still the possibility, even though it's maybe not the, incredibly high to happen during the season, but he could get slapped with a suspension at a very inopportune time of the year.
Yes. But before we get into any more thing in the chat, any other questions in the chat, which we do have, and I see here, I just wanted to point out that we're up to 21 likes on this video, and we appreciate that greatly. We haven't been up. We haven't had that many likes on a live stream since week 17 of last year. So thank you very much for everybody who liked the video. If you're in here and you haven't done that yet, please do. It helps us out a lot with just
smash that like button.
So much appreciated, though. Much appreciated. Johnny Jones made this trade, gave Gesicki and Sutton, got Dotson and Knox. Any words to make you feel better?
You gave up Sutton and Gesicki for Dotson and Knox?
I think you're by halfway through the year, you're gonna I don't know. Like Sutton, I expect Sutton to explode this year, especially
Sutton
with Tim Patrick being hurt.
Yeah,
and out for the year.
Got any words to make me feel better, Johnny? If that's the question, why'd you do the trade, bro?
I think in 3 years you're gonna feel great about this.
In 3 years, fine. Yeah, this year it might sting a little bit. Sutton is easily the best player in this trade.
But in 3 years, Sutton will be 30, Dotson will be 25. So in 3 years, this is a good dynasty move to make if you are rebuilding. But you gave up the best player in this deal, and that's a little rough for right now. But in 3 years, you might be thanking yourself for making this deal, because by then Terry McLaurin won't be a Commander anymore because they signed him for 3 more years, and Terry McLaurin is 27 right now, so he'll be 30 as well. Dotson will be 25, coming into his own, and could be the number 1 target on that team, and they should have a new, better quarterback by then than Carson Wentz. And I'd rather have Knox than Gesicki any day. So you made out good on the tight end side of things. It just might be rough for the next few seasons watching Sutton with Russell Wilson.
Yeah. I don't think I would have done that.
I think I would have asked for a little more.
I would have asked for some more. I mean, getting Knox is an upgrade over Gesicki. There's no doubt, but
Sutton and Dotson isn't nothing.
No, but for this season, Sutton is the supremely superior option.
Yeah.
Knox is a good upgrade over Gesicki. Sutton is an astronomical upgrade over Dotson.
For now.
But yeah, to that point, you can use that for now caveat as leverage to ask for more.
So, Scott, are you serious? Murray hurt his
Oh, he's
What? Is this real? Yo.
He's playing. He's playing. Nah, Cliff Kingsbury hid the controllers. Murray can't even reach them. They're on the top shelf.
Short joke. I see what you did there.
Short joke. They're on the top shelf. When he's old enough, he can get them for himself. He's still just a little guy.
And yo, man, you calling Jameis unusable in half his
14,
starts?
I mean, 14 touchdowns over like 6 games isn't like spectacular. Yeah, he front loaded. He had some good numbers. Just
he had one game under 15 points in the first 7 games.
He got significant receiver upgrades. I don't hold last year against him.
Yeah, I don't see your argument there. I mean, if a quarterback has a floor of 15 points over 7 games, but he's hitting highs of 34 and 40 with a 20-point game in there, I can't be mad, man.
Yeah. Nah, he's going to be much better this year. I think he's a great bargain this year.
Yeah, me too.
I think it's going to be a great bargain this year.
We're in the middle of a league draft, and he went in the 6th round in a Superflex league. That's value. That's value.
Pretty good.
Yeah. Crumply Heads, what's happening? Formerly known as Khalid. Still deciding on Pittman for Garrett Wilson, Amon-Ra, and a 2025.
Oh, he's got this offer
pick
on the deal or on the table. He's sending Pittman for Garrett Wilson, Amon-Ra, and a 2025 first. I think Pittman's the best player, but I think you take the package. That's pretty good. That's a good package.
I think this is a deal where it would benefit you to wait.
I think it's a pretty good package.
I think it would benefit you to wait until people see what Pittman can be with Matt Ryan. And until people see, once people see that Elijah Moore is, for now, the wide receiver to own on the Jets, and Corey Davis is still there. Like I don't think Garrett Wilson is going to fire out the gate. So I think you might be able to turn that 2025 first round pick into one that you get sooner. I'm not saying that the package is bad. I'm saying once people see that Pittman is a top 8 wide receiver in fantasy over the first few games of the year, and Garrett Wilson hasn't really loaded the box score up in the fantasy in the fantasy realm or whatever, and Amon-Ra's just been, he isn't what he was at the end of last year with a full offense around him. You might be able to get a little bit more out of Pittman. You should be able to get a little bit more out of Pittman. Maybe it's just a case of me being so high on Pittman. And yes, if somebody offered me for Pittman basically 2 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks, which is I think is kind of the value that you're looking at here, it'd be hard for me to turn that down. But I think you can get even more. Yes, Garrett Wilson was a first-round pick. I don't know if he's gonna explode year 1. And Amon-Ra will be steady, but he won't be what he was at the end of last year. And a 2025 first-round pick, yes, it's a first-round pick, but you got to wait 3 years to get it, to use it. I think you can wait and get more. But it's not a bad return.
It's a pretty good return. What if Amon-Ra is just good?
think Amon-Ra is good. I just don't think he's going to get 11 targets a game weekly.
Nah.
He's not going to get the chance to prove that he's as good as he was at the end of last year. That's the issue with me. I think he's going to get around 8 targets a game. And I think that's good, but you're not going to be, a wide receiver 1 on those numbers on the Lions offense.
I mean, I don't know that they're going to have – I don't know how long they're going to be without Jameson Williams. So that's already one piece of the puzzle that they're probably going to be missing, I'll say, for the first 4 weeks of the season minimum.
Is that something to put in Amon-Ra's favor? Because I think that's a detractor as well.
No.
At the end of the day, by 2023, he's going to be the number 2 target on this offense at best. Jameson Williams is waiting in the wings to come away and take some of his upside away from Amon-Ra.
Yeah,
and he has to deal with Swift. And he has to deal with Hawkinson because those players aren't going anywhere.
Well, what if the Lions get a significant quarterback upgrade? Which they're going to be gunning for this year because the team's probably not going to
That's
be very
great.
good.
All I'm saying is wait until the season so people see how good Pittman is and ask for more. You can still get Garrett Wilson and Amon-Ra halfway through the year. But you can get an earlier first or something else on top of that first if you're patient. That's my point.
Okay. I kind of like the package now as it stands, but I did admit Pittman is the best player in the deal.
I think you can get a little bit more out of the deal. But if you want to just take what is in front of you, at the end of the day, that's not a bad deal. I just think you can get a little more if you're patient.
All right.
But if you want to just go ahead, make the deal, and put Pittman behind you, I can't fade you. At the end of the day, it's not a bad deal.
Yeah, I don't mind I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, if I think we're a little split on, like, I'm a little more like, I would, if you want to take the package, go for it. John's a little bit more waiting on Pittman. Like, we're waiting to do the deal to see how Pittman does with Matt Ryan. If you want to, if you're looking at it, you're the only person who can pull that trigger. Neither of us can pull it for you. So if your favorite player in the deal is Pittman, then keep your guy. If you think you can stay competitive this year without him, picking that package up and also adding some future assets, then go for it. Like, what do you value? You have to ask yourself that first and foremost. Like, don't ask a question. I mean, yes, obviously you ask what do we think, and then we ask what we give you our thoughts. And I know you're not doing this. We're not going to try to make the decision for you. And also, we're not going to try to figure out, like, who wins this, who wins, right? That's not the question here. At the end of the day, the question you have to ask yourself is, do I want to do this? Like, what side do I want? Do I want Pittman, who is the best player? Or do I want the upside that the package has?
At the end of the day, the deal is very fair.
I think it's fair, yeah.
And taking that deal, absolutely nothing wrong with it. I am just probably too high on Pittman.
I mean, I have him listed as a wide receiver 1 this year as well.
I'm probably just too high on Pittman. He is close to me. He's about as close as you can get to the Jefferson Chase tier in Dynasty as far as a wide receiver goes without being in that tier.
Yeah.
Which is why I think waiting could yield you a little bit more. But at the end of the day, that is a very fair deal. So honestly, whatever you do, whether you pull the trigger now or you pull the trigger in a couple of weeks, pull the trigger.
But
depends what your risk tolerance is.
Yeah, true.
If you don't have the risk tolerance, take the deal now. If you want to see if you can just sneak a little bit more out of the deal, wait until midseason when Garrett Wilson hasn't fulfilled his promise yet, Michael Pittman's doing crazy things with Matt Ryan. Amon-Ra's value is a little bit depressed because rumblings of Jameson Williams coming back are already in the air, and he isn't what he was last year.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I like that return. But do with it what you will.
Yep.
Rojo, I've been hearing some Jamal Williams hype this offseason. Probably best to ignore the noise this time of year. I mean, I like Jamal Williams this year.
Yeah, I mean, he should be fine. It's
hype. I'm not buying any hype. I just like the player.
It's because he's on Hard Knocks and he gave a big speech last night. So
yeah, where he almost cried.
Yeah, I mean, good for having that type of personality. Every team needs that. Jamal Williams is a likable dude. He seems like he's kind of somebody who's like a man of the people. He gives it to you straight as far as, his press conferences. They are entertaining. He's a nice guy and all that. And he should be a solid, RB4 or 5 for your fantasy team. Fills in spurts. If anything happens to DeAndre Swift, he's got RB1 upside.
And there are number 2 running backs in other offenses that are being taken way ahead of him in drafts.
Yeah.
So he presents a value. But hype, I'm not going to go that far. I'll hype up Swift. I'm not going to hype up Jameson Williams. But I'll acknowledge that he is an underrated fantasy asset for what he is, and he is a very good number 2 in the league still.
Yeah. Should be fine.
Gray Area, what's happening, man? Good to see you.
What's going on, Gray?
Told you guys I was able to get 2 firsts for London.
Yep. 23 and 24.
First.
That's pretty good.
Keenan for Higgins. Got an offer for Jefferson. I'd get Chubb and Judy. I'm rebuilding. I think I should keep Jefferson. Yeah, I'm not buying. Keep Jefferson over Chubb and Judy for sure.
Yeah, don't.
Unless they're throwing 2 firsts on top of that, I'm not touching that. Would rather Justin Jefferson, to me, outside of crazy deals, which we have seen. We've seen him on this channel with some of our members.
Yeah.
But outside of crazy return, there's a no trade clause for Justin Jefferson.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a top 3 dynasty receiver. Top 5 non-quarterback dynasty receiver or dynasty player. And he's closer to 1 than he is to 5. I'm not trading Justin Jefferson for Judy and Chubb. Nah. They can keep that.
Yeah. Yeah, Johnny Jones. Again, to make you feel better, in 3 years you'll be happy with the move. It's just gonna hurt until then.
We hope so. You hope that Dotson gets on Sutton's level. I mean, Knox I'd rather have. I mean, yeah. I mean, we'll see. I wouldn't have done that trade, though. And I don't know if I saw it in the Discord, Johnny, or if you dropped it in and I missed it. Apologies. I don't think I missed it, though. But, yeah, that's one I probably would have said I don't want to do. But like John said, there's optimism for a few years from now, but not until then.
Yeah. Rojo, you have a dynasty startup drafting in 2 weeks. You have the 101. You traded a 23 first for the 704 straight up for your
So it's a rookie pick for a 23 first for the 7th pick. Probably. I mean, that's probably right around like good value because you'll get a starter there who should
Superflex.
Like is it Superflex? Regardless, I mean, you should get a good player there. There should be a guy who is, who can start for you for at least a couple of years.
Yeah, would you trade a 23 first for the likes of a 1 QB, a Sutton, and
I mean,
Elijah Moore,
Yeah.
Bateman, Mike Williams. If you're competing, Chris Olave, like, yeah, I think that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
In a startup, you control your destiny a little bit. It's not like you have your team, and you're going into a rookie draft knowing, like, I'm deficient at running back, I'm deficient at quarterback. I know this draft is highly touted in both those areas, so I'm prioritizing this draft over others. You know, in a startup, you control your destiny. You can draft running back and quarterback so that you're not deficient at those places, and you're fine. Plus, it means that you're better set up to compete year one with an extra 7th for sure in a startup. So I don't hate that at all. And CXK, much appreciated.
Yeah, I think it was 15 likes. It was 21 votes though. I think you said 21 likes, 21 votes. But still, I like to see the engagement.
Well,
we'll take the 15 likes though. It'd be cool if we could get to 21. But we'll take it.
Oops.
It's all good. Wait, Gray, did you trade Higgins for Keenan and then a couple more firsts? Is that what I'm reading? Which would be fine, honestly, if you're getting, I like Higgins a lot, but if you're getting Keenan, who is a lot older, but they attach 2 first-round picks to it, then yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. What years are they in?
Yeah, that would help. And Khalid's taking your advice. He's going to wait.
And you have 4 23 first-round picks. So, hey, good job for getting those picks. I also have 4 23 firsts in a league that I'm in. Very excited about it. So, yeah. But, hey, Pittman.
To the moon?
Pittman to the moon, man. And I'm almost like, take what's in front of you. But my risk tolerance is, like, I'm cool with that. So I'm cool with chilling and waiting to see if I can get more. But I almost want to say, like, take what's in front of you. But if you're willing to risk it for more, power to you. I respect it. It's the move that I would do. But looking at that deal, like, you can't hate on the prospects you're getting back. It's just, there's a chance none of them have the upside that Pittman presents right now. So you could try to squeeze a little more out of it. But we've been over that a lot, so do what you're going to do. But, yeah. Nemo Drake, London has the best college dominator score of any USC wide receiver in the past decade. Can he be that special?
I mean, he can.
Yeah. We don't like breakout age as a statistic, but he had his breakout year playing with Michael Pittman, playing with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Funny, those names come up. We were just talking about them in a deal.
About both. Yeah.
Playing with Velus Jones, who is now 25 years old on the Bears, but playing with 3 other NFL talents at wide receiver, and he did enough in his rookie year, in his freshman year, I believe, to have it qualify as a breakout season, to have an 18.1 breakout age. So when put through that lens, then their breakout age is special. When breakout age is against is when he's playing with, 3 other guys that don't even get a sniff at the NFL. Okay. Cool. But when breakout age is against 3 wide receivers, 2 of which have done very good things in their young NFL careers thus far, in Pittman and Amon-Ra, and there's another guy who got, 3rd round draft capital, Velus Jones?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, I think Drake London can be that special. Now it remains to be seen if he can get a quarterback that can help him reach that potential, because that's a huge part of the equation. But they are set up well to tank this year to be in a position to where they can draft one next year. Mariota and Desmond Ridder don't inspire confidence that they won't be a bottom 5 team by the time the 2023 draft rolls around. So yeah, I think Drake London can be that special. We both done a full 360 on Drake London. 180, not 360.
180. 360 was we didn't like him and we still don't like him. No, yeah. I mean, I'm trying to keep expectations in check relative to how we were originally feeling. But it's hard not to feel good about his long-term prospects from an opportunity perspective, and just the fact that what he is putting on tape right now in camp. Granted, it's 7-on-7s, but he is currently obliterating veteran NFL talent with his route running.
For what it's worth, Ian Harditz has come out and said that Drake London gives him straight up Michael Pittman vibes.
It's fair.
And we both like Ian Harditz.
Their builds are quite similar.
Yep. Best seasons by age-adjusted yards per game since 2000. Power 5 wide receivers only. Age below 20.5. Michael Crabtree, Elijah Moore, Drake London, Brandon Cooks, Antonio Bryant, Jamar Chase, Larry Fitzgerald, Jackson Smith-Njigba. It's a pretty good list to be on.
There you go.
Only one of those guys I don't know about, and that's because Antonio Bryant was drafted in the year 2000, so can't really speak much to him. But every single one of those other wide receivers, with the exception of Smith-Njigba, because we haven't seen him on the field yet, has done very good things in the NFL. So yeah, I think you can.
Yep.
Gray area, exactly. My league mates are really bugged out, difficult to trade with, and then they trade away players for less when the trade doesn't involve me.
It always feels like you're the one who's getting squeezed to be asked to do something more. But yeah, I know that feeling. Call their bluff. That's why you hold your ground. If you firmly believe in that either that you're offering solid value and or are not receiving solid value, hold your ground.
Yeah.
I get it's annoying though. There's different league mates approach different people differently. They just do.
Yeah, if you get into a couple of situations where you clearly win a trade, sometimes people stop, being willing to trade with you because they realize, like, you got a track record of just winning trades and they don't want to be on the losing side of that. It happens.
Yeah, did you fleece anybody recently? Could have something to do with it. But obviously always keep an open mind. If, there is often, if two people are motivated to come up with a deal, there is a middle ground that can be found where both teams come out from it and benefit.
And disregard your league mates. Like, Rojo made a deal to get, I believe it was Jamar Chase, and he gave up 2 firsts and 2 seconds, and his league mates flamed him for it. We think that's a win. Yeah. If you like the deal that you got, like, that's really all that matters at the end of the day. If you're happy with the return that you got on a trade.
Yep.
Joshua Little, Elijah Moore, or Kadarius Toney?
More. For this season, more, and maybe for Dynasty as well. The report, Kadarius is interesting. Kadarius is enticing. What was he, number 1 in juke rate last year? Is that the stat?
Yes. Yep.
That's Kadarius's big,
very athletic.
Yeah, he's a freak athlete. He's kind of a Swiss Army knife.
They called him the closest thing to Tyreek Hill last year, and while it's unfair to compare anybody to Tyreek Hill, he was the number one wide receiver in juke rate in the entire NFL in what was, not really a stellar year outside of that, really, and outside of one game.
Right, and he had one game, and he blew up. But it was mostly up and down. And now, to be fair, I'll credit some of that to the incompetence of Joe Judge as a head coach. And the Giants' offense went in the crapper last year when Daniel Jones suffered a neck injury. That's the other thing about Saquon. I don't know if Riley is still in here. Saquon was putting up crap numbers with Mike Glennon and Jake from State Farm running the offense. Daniel Jones is not great, but he's better than both of those schmucks. So... and that'll also help Tony. So that late season slide, that'll happen when both of your backup quarterbacks stink. That's pretty much guaranteed when that's the case. And Mike Glennon stinks, and Jake Fromm is worse. Other than that, they're solid players.
But something I want to point out that kind of takes the quarterback analysis or the quarterback deficiencies or whatever out of the equation. Route win rate is a metric that I've been pretty high on using when grading wide receivers. Elijah Moore last year in his rookie season was 9th in route win rate.
That's pretty good.
And Kadarius Toney was 45th.
So Elijah Moore is beating his man.
Now, route win rate, the percentages, you got to take that into account and not just the ranking. Elijah Moore, 47.8% of the time he was winning his route. Kadarius Toney, 40.7% of the time he was winning his route. So, still in the 40s, but one player did it 7% more than another player did it. And that's where the discrepancy, the difference in the rankings is there. One's number 9, one's number 45, but there is only a 7% difference between the two. That said, one is clearly better than the other at winning routes, which matters. So to me, it's Elijah Moore. Higher athletic ceiling, Kadarius Toney, not close. Higher fantasy ceiling, it's Elijah Moore to me.
It's more. It's more.
That metric says it all to me. Route win rate is big for me.
That's a pretty good one. Yeah, I agree. It's more for this year and moving forward.
And then when you put that next to true catch rate, that's when you get into the target quality and the quarterback and all that stuff. So that I don't want to touch. But on a pure wide receiver metric, you can't get more pure of a wide receiver metric than route win rate. Elijah Moore wins. Flawless victory. Mortal Kombat. What's up?
TKO.
Yo, Rojo Fish, Drake London to the moon. All right, yeah. And it's Superflex. Hey, that means that those players that I was referencing, you can shoot even higher than that because those numbers were more in the 1 QB realm. So instead of looking at, your Olaves and all that stuff, I mean, you could be looking at your DJ Moores, your Chris Godwins, 7th round pick in a startup like that. Yeah, man. I mean, you depending on, Mike Evans might be there. Drake London might be there. Your guy you just said Drake London to the moon. Drake London might be there. J.K. Dobbins, Aaron Jones. So yeah, I have no issue doing that. Put you in a position to be a contender right out the gate. Johnny Jones, oh my God, trade talks could be so annoying. Hey, sometimes it takes a while to work things out.
Mm-hmm.
But when you do finally work something out that works in your favor, it's golden.
Feels good.
Yes, sir. So do we have any more questions in here? We got 12 people in here right now.
Yeah, I mean, we've been going for nearly 3 hours, so we're probably coming up on the end here.
Yep.
For today. We have the members stream tomorrow.
And I got a pick to make in this members league.
You said you were sitting on it on purpose to make people stew in it.
No, I was sitting on it because I wanted to give the stream my full attention.
Okay. There's the politically correct answer. We have the members only stream tomorrow. Again, John, did we add a new feature as far as memberships where if you do want an extra, I don't know if did we make that official where it's available yet. Now? Okay.
But what we are gonna do is
okay. I was gonna say wait on the announcement. I was gonna hold on announcing just that there was a different
we can do that
coming.
right now.
Okay.
You can do that right after the stream before I make this pick in the members only league.
All right. While you do that, then in that case, yeah. So we're gonna implement it. We are going to add an additional layer to memberships where if you are interested in additional streams from us, and maybe that's all you're interested in, we are going to offer a 99-cent level where it's just 99 cents a month where you get an additional stream from us, and it's on Wednesdays at the same time. So it's a little bit more of a consolidated audience. You maybe get a little bit more of our attention. And you just get the stream, the additional members only stream. So
and access to the Discord.
And access to the Discord. That could be used during the season for start sit help or waiver help, or maybe not waiver help because it'll be on Wednesdays, unless your league does Thursday waivers, which those exist. If you think that might be helpful, and then of course just general discourse and conversation on top of any start sit questions you may have. If that intrigues you, obviously there will be more information after this stream that you can check out by clicking the first link in the description of this video and all of our recent videos. As far as another league, Xavier, before I continue with my closing thoughts and recap, we absolutely can look into getting that set up. If there are any other members who are interested in an additional league.
What I might say is maybe we poll everybody tomorrow and see if we want to try out a different format, whether or not that's best ball or zombie or guillotine or something like that.
Yep. So we can talk about that tomorrow during the members only stream. If there are any other members who are interested in another, obviously low cost league, your membership is obviously the buy-in. If anybody is out there who was interested in being a member, beyond just getting the additional live stream. If you choose to get up to at least the beginners membership level, you can play in fantasy leagues with us, with myself and John, where we will co-commission it. The membership is the buy-in, and you will win some merch or some form of a prize if you are the winner. So low stakes from a money perspective, high stakes as far as a lot of fun, shooting the shit with the Face Mask Fantasy family over here, and of course bragging rights. So we can look into putting a second league together because we now have, Xavier has recently joined us, which we appreciate. Thanks for jumping on board. Happy to have you.
Absolutely.
But if there's any additional members or maybe potential new members, if you're thinking about becoming a member who want to start up in another league, a second league, that's something that we can look into. On Thursday, we have another, we have our general public stream. I don't know that we will cut it short just because of preseason, but it is something that we can obviously take into consideration if people want to watch the preseason games. Maybe something to take into account. In addition to whether you're a member or not, we have our Discord. If you have any other questions that come up, maybe that you think of after the stream, you want to keep the conversation going. That is the third link in the description of this video. Second link in most of our recent videos, but now the second link it is starting to become our 2022 redraft draft plan. So you don't have to become a member to join the Discord. It is an evergreen free entry. You can keep the conversation going over there with an awesome community, an awesome group of people. Talk shop, ask questions, bounce ideas off each other that may not otherwise come up during the stream itself.
And even if you don't want to do all that, go ahead and draft our 2022 redraft draft kit that Nick kindly put together. 30 plus pages of great content. Second link in our descriptions today. So check that out. It gets updated. I want to say
not on any
as
regular
needed.
cadence, just as things, as updates develop. If an injury takes place, we'll add in we'll we'll remove that player and put the ripple effects in. If there's an update on an maybe there's an update on an existing update. Hey, I wasn't in on this guy before. Now I am. I'm even more bullish on this guy now because this guy got hurt. Stuff like that. It'll be a reactive living document.
But you do have to then download the next version that comes out to get it. It doesn't automatically update once you download the PDF because we're not tech wizards to that level yet. But yeah, definitely download that if you haven't already. Most of all, thank y'all for being here. Thank y'all for listening for 3 hours, chilling with us today. Always fun. Thank you to our members. Really appreciate y'all. To everybody that isn't, y'all, 99 cents a month. So check it out. It'll be available to you. You can hop on extra streams with us, which will be helpful to you come the regular season.
Well, we hope so.
Well, it will. You'll get more access to us and less competition for your questions. So definitely something to think about. But it's been great, y'all. Thanks for chilling. We'll see all you members tomorrow. We'll see the rest of the general public on Thursday. Have a great night.
Appreciate it. Have a good one, guys.